Happy Thursday, everybody. It is time of that week. It is Thursday. I got Kenton. Hopefully, Chad B will be here really soon. Let's get this intro out of the way, and we're going to get right into business, you guys. For those who don't know, THORChain is the world's leading Bitcoin DEX. You can swap 13 different blockchains across 41 different pools without using bridges or wrap tokens. Check it out at swap.thorchain.org, swap.thorchain.org. Anyone in the world can use THORChain. There's no account open, no KYC required, and privacy is a human right. THORChain has two tokens, Rune and TCY. The fees for swapping on THORChain are paid in Rune, and that's where the yield comes from. The fees are deducted from swaps, so you don't need to own Rune to trade on THORChain. That's pretty cool. The Rune token is deflationary as 5% of the fees are burned. 10% of the protocol's fees goes to TCY token holders who remember to stake the TCY tokens in order to collect this yield. There are no block rewards on THORChain. The protocol fees are real money paid by real users. THORChain is more than just a DEX. It is a programmable layer 1 with the ability to create decentralized apps on it. This app layer is being developed by Ruggiero. If you guys need help with THORChain in general, please join the THORChain community Discord and Telegram group. Links for those are on thorchain.org, thorchain.org. And please follow THORChain on Facebook and Instagram, THORChain Contact on TikTok. We need 1,000 followers to live stream on those platforms. And always remember, guys, this podcast for informational and educational purposes only does not constitute financial investment or legal advice, and the THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind. And with that out of the way, you guys, how's everyone doing? We're going to be having a protocol update here very shortly. Before we do that, I just wanted to share a sentiment from the community. And my own sentiment to the community is thank you guys. This has been a very trying time, and everyone has really stepped up. We have some terse conversations, of course, every now and then, but more or less, I think the community has done a really good job. And my community message to you, Chad, and to the other developers is everyone wants to say thank you very much. Everyone understands when these things happen. It's a very stressful time. You guys are probably fatigued. You also have sleep deprivation, and it makes it very hard to, constantly function normal. You have lots of messages. You're constantly responding to people. You may have to answer the same question 30 frickin' times. And I know that can be tedious, but the community just wants to say thank you guys very much for your hard work. And with that out of the way, I'll go ahead and kick it to you, Chad. And I know, Kenton, you have an update as well.
You kicking it to me or Chad?
Kenny, you can go first, and then I'll give the protocol update.
Yeah, let's do that. I apologize.
I know, everyone, I know you want to talk about the exploit and everything, and ADR 28 and whatnot. We'll definitely get into it, but I do have several things I kind of just want to go over with the community. Maybe some positive stuff. We'll start with maybe some more good news. I found another scam website, took that down. It was THORChain without an N, and it's actually been up for several months now. So I submit everything to get that taken down. I've engaged with Market Across, started talking to them this week about how to, deal with the exploit and everything. And they think it's actually, we're good. We're doing pretty good, with the news cycle going on, because everyone's getting hacked, that we've basically kind of fallen off, right? And so they think we're doing a good job. They asked me about the community, and I'm like, I think our community is doing great. I don't think we have to worry about. I think we're doing.
I haven't seen any pitchforks.
Yeah, no, I think we're doing a good job communicating, and so I told them, like, no, I think our community is really solid. Everyone's been supportive. Everyone's been great. My concern is the non-community, the outsiders, right?
Mhm.
We got to talk to them. So their first glance on stuff is that they think this is like pretty good. Like, we can definitely get past this, especially if the protocol bears the loss. And there's no individual user impacted. And they're pretty clear that Bybit, as far as they're concerned, Bybit came out of their hack way better than when it went in. They actually, their business went up, basically.
Interesting.
So, and Market Across handled their PR for that. So this is what we're going to do, is kind of damage control what we can. We can go to anyone. We can look at existing news articles out there. If you guys saw any articles where a journalist got something wrong or is maybe kind of attacking us, we can reach out to them to have it corrected or have a rebuttal, and get the narrative accurate, and correct, and we control it, right?
Mhm.
Started coming from us. But because of the news cycle, we might not have to worry too much about it. We might be able to kind of fix that pretty quick, or at least do it. They said it's kind of like, you don't want to like poke the nest. Like if people aren't talking about it, then just don't talk about it and don't draw any more attention, and we just start focusing more on the positive stuff. So that's great. So uh, then we be able to focus on positive stuff, and it's probably a good segue into what I'm doing with marketing. You guys saw the website just went live on Tuesday. That took forever. So I apologize, community. That was like one of those projects that was supposed to take a few months, took like 6, and all kinds of reasons and excuses. But I'll accept it. I'll take that. But it's finally done, and maybe I want to share my screen. Um, I'll show you why I've been kind of focusing on trying to get this thing done. So tell me if you can see my screen or not, you guys. This diagram.
It's popping up right now. Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so I'm trying to build a funnel. Okay, so that when people get into this funnel, they all fall down and come to the swap interface and place a trade. So this funnel only if there's holes in this funnel, people in water is going to fall out. People will fall out if there's holes, right?
Mhm.
So I got to get this bottom of the funnel done, right? Because this is ultimately what I want people to do. So SEO is good enough. I'm still working on it. I have some updates I can go over in a bit. The website is done. Still I need still some, especially on mobile, still some things we need to clean up there. But now it's done. Then I can start focusing on the things above this funnel, right? Like, um, and so it's going to be like more like public relations, paid articles. So all the negative headlines and stuff you guys see out there about THORChain, I'm going to overwhelm that with our propaganda. And it's not about, how to say this? I think some people might be worried that it's going to be like sleazy or slimy or like too promotional. Um, no, we are going to be positive and like talk about our strengths and get out there for sure. But there's not going to be any lying or anything like that. It'll be done tastefully. But what matters is we just got to get stuff out there. But the reason I haven't really been doing any of that yet, because we need a call to action, right? If you read a nice positive article about THORChain, I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm going to go look into it. I maybe want to use this thing. We need the website and the swap interface done, right? Because if it's not done, people will fall out of the funnel, right? We spend all this money on getting people to read these articles and then like us, and then now it's hard to use us. The website isn't up to date. So these layers build on each other. And so this will be, now that this is done, social media, we got the Lemur Labs guys. They've been doing a great job. I'm pretty hard on them about the content and stuff going out. But they got that dialed in. Now I can focus more on like training SEO, training AI, doing PR, starting to improve THORChain's reputation online. So when people search THORChain, um, positive articles show up, not just negative ones. So this is gonna be my next push now that the website's done, is getting this stuff out there. And um, and then, KOLs, paid ads, conferences, it all funnels into this. So I'm just kind of going up the step. I'm like, this is the base. I know it's not visually a base, but we kind of got to work our way up to build up this funnel. So hopefully that makes sense. And I have been wanting to write a blog post for you guys to explain all that.
Mhm.
So that's basically phase 1 is getting STO and the website kind of nice that we can promote. So phase 2 will be now driving traffic to it. So part of this, I just want to make sure I don't forget anything in my notes. So Monday I had some good meetings. I talked to DeFi Llama and BTC Media, the Bitcoin magazine, Bitcoin conference guys. and a KOL in with Monero, Douglas Tuman. Um, so I know most KOLs are shillers. I get it, you guys. Some are okay. Some like that's my job to figure out which ones are worth it or not. Apparently, Doug is dialed in on the Monero community. He runs a Monero conference. He's respected. Um, all three of these people were cool. They knew about the hack on Friday. They weren't phased by it. They still want to do business with THORChain. Yeah, they're going to get paid, but at the same time, they have their own reputations, right? Like they don't want to just have anyone, you know, um, front and center on their platforms. So, so DeFi Llama, we're going to move forward with a 1-year deal to do um, like monthly articles and postings, like banners for THORChain in their newsletter, and a dashboard on DeFi Llama. So getting that going. Bitcoin BTC Media guys, that was a great call. Probably one of the best calls I've had chatting with someone about a potential partnership. Because I've always felt that, Bitcoiners should actually love THORChain. Like there's so much in common. And I was worried that, you know, Bitcoin Magazine and conference, you guys just a bunch of maxis. This is going to be an issue. They're like maybe 5 years ago, but they're like now it's much more. The majority of their audience is open to stable coins. They are open to Monero and Zcash because of privacy. It's just the scams and the garbage, right? They don't want to be touching. So, but they love THORChain. They love what we're doing. They love what we do for Bitcoin. The whole money laundering narrative, they're like, they get it. They're like, that's a plus, not a negative. It's not that we want that. We don't want to attract, bad actors, but they understand it proves the technology works. So, I want to do something with them, hopefully to tap into that audience. And they love your condom idea, Chad. They they asked me.
I always knew I was a media genius.
They asked him, do you have any like taglines or things, this and that? And I'm like, well, the world's leading Bitcoin DEX is what I'm trying to push out there. And like, okay, cool. And like, well, what else? I'm like, well, we have this saying, wrap your dong, not your Bitcoin. They laughed. They're slapping their knees laughing. And they're like, we should put that on condoms and hand them out at the conference. I'm like, that's exactly what Chad wants to do. So I think we're going to do it. We'll have to do it. They're on board. You want it? We're going to make it happen. We'll figure it out. So I think when you go to the conference, you get like a tote, a gift bag or something with a bunch of like flyers and stuff in it. So we can be part of that. We can get stuff in there.
Can we make the condoms like very large? Just because that would be fun. You know what I mean? Just make them like
they can go over your fist. You know what I mean?
like something like large. It'd be funnier. You know.
All right.
And then people don't actually use them because they're like too large to actually use. So then people have I used it and now my wife is pregnant or my girlfriend or this girl, whatever.
All right, I wrote that down. We'll find out. So just kind of going over my notes, make sure I hit everything. One thing too, just I want to apologize to this THORSwap community, THORSwap guys. You're a bit butthurt looking at the ecosystem page that you weren't featured as a prominent partner. So I had that thing done in February, and I knew at the time too. I'm like, man, I'm gonna piss off somebody. But in my mind at the time, I was thinking, well, SwapKit and THORSwap are the same. And so I put it in THORSwap because I didn't want to have like one team having two projects up there. And I had Coinly up there because Coinly has an article. If you Google no KYC crypto or no KYC crypto exchange or something like that, Coinly has an article that comes first. And I want to get into that article. And so they're like, oh, well, you should feature us on your website. And that's where that referral link and everything comes from. And so I was expecting the site to be done way sooner, like before April, that I could go to Coinly and like, got you on your website. Hey, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about it. We'll do some cross promotion marketing. and then weasel my way to get THORChain into their article. And then just because the website took forever, and then I'm focusing on other parts of the website. So I just honestly, I wasn't looking at that part of the site anymore. So, so I took Coinly down and put THORSwap up. So it's nothing. There's no ill will or anything like that, guys. Like nothing. Yeah, and there could be something else like that on the site. They're just like, why isn't this featured, or somebody didn't mention me, or whatever. Like, I promise you, it's not on purpose. Like, this is part of the reason why it took so long. Is like I was telling Danny when we were just before we came live. But you guys talk like THORChain is a beast, like 800,000 lines of code, right? It's also a beast to explain. How do you put this all on a website and talk to swappers, partners, and investors, and cover all the angles? And like, it took a lot, you know. So I'm sure I missed something, and if I did, it's not on purpose. So yeah, just let me know. And the other small issue too has been like THORChain is always changing. There's always something new. So like I got to go update and kind of tweak things. So the site isn't static, guys. Like as things change with the protocol, the site will change too. So if there's some things that just aren't working or whatever, we can always change it, right? So no need to freak out that this is set in stone and can't be changed. Um, so yeah. So with all that said, maybe I don't know if you guys have any questions about any of that, or if you just want to kind of
I
chat.
would
If you
just
want to jump
say,
in.
I would say if people have a problem, just DM Kenton. You don't like it's a huge website, you guys. If you notice a problem, a lot of you guys have been pointing out the issues. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Just DM Kenton, let him know, and he will get it fixed. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think I'm good.
Okay.
We'll go to Kent and we'll go to Chad, I think.
Yeah. So let me give an update. So some of the information I'm not going to reveal at this time. Again, there's more things to come out, and they will come out in due time when it's appropriate to do so. Some information I'm going to hold back for right now, but it will all come out. And we'll eventually have once we're like good and healthy and trading, and we'll have a postmortem that comes out that will explain everything in much more detail than I can right in this moment. But I'll give what I can give. So this has truly been like a multi-team effort, throughout this process. The Maya team has been mostly focusing on the like kind of Thor node stuff, right? If you want to call it that, like the plan to come back in terms of like, how to fill the $10 million hole in the protocol, for example. A few like code changes like that, trying to get the like network back up and like at least observing, so that we can get. If they get all the nodes to be like observing the other blockchains to the tip, so that we can churn. If you can't churn without that being the case, you have to observe the transactions and know what's actually in your vault to be able to churn to the next vault. So they've been working on that. I've been assisting them whenever I can. And then most of my time's actually been spending with the security team, and we've been doing a lot of like deep dive on threshold signatures and and that kind of stuff. And we brought in like a lot of people to help us with that process, because we're getting really deep into the weeds of cryptography, like beyond my capability, to be honest with you, and even beyond some of our security team's capabilities, because it really needed some expertise and specialists that are beyond that. And so we reached out to the GG of GG20, the Goldfeather Genero. We reached out to them. We held some conversations with them, get some feedback on a few things. There are some security kind of, or rather, cryptographers we brought in that are subject matter experts on specifically GG20, that are much more deeply understand the cryptography than me or anybody else in the team, for that matter, because they're like top in the world in the context of GG20. And so we wanted to bring as much talent as we could in to get to the bottom of things. It took us quite a few days to actually really nail down where the actual issue was, and to make sure that the issue that we're finding is aligning with the data in the logs that we saw before the exploit, so that it all kind of it fits in the story, right? Like it matches the behavior we saw of this, that, and the other thing. And so there will be like a deep dive into that too, as well, of like, what is the issue? Where was it introduced in the code base? why was it there? Why didn't we patch it then? Blah blah blah. There's like a whole thing that I'll also kind of be diving into, and we're gonna get more into that kind of in the future. But for right now, I'm just trying to keep it somewhat generic until everything's good. At this moment in time, we haven't actually patched the code on mainnet yet, right? We have the code ready probably today or tomorrow on the TSS side. We'll be deploying probably 319. Maybe we'll probably be making the cut probably tomorrow, and then start testing on StageNet, make sure everything still works and everything looks good, blah blah blah, and then releasing on mainnet hopefully on Monday, maybe Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, but we're looking to get that out quickly. And once that's patch is done, then theoretically we should be able to churn. We should be able to the store migration of fixing all the $10 million hole that will be actually already addressed in that version as well, and we can start churning, signing, trading, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully by the end of the week next week, we'll be kind of fully back online and trading and doing the thing that we do before, and we can carry on with our roadmap and the things we had planned to do before all this craziness. So it's been a gargantuan effort on many fronts, and it's been a multi-team effort on many fronts to kind of nail down exactly what it is. One thing I wanted to mention is that for the time being, we're using a closed source version of the TSS library, just because there's a lot of changes that happened in this change, and we want to make sure that every change is strongly and well vetted. And so the team needs the security team needs probably another week or 2 weeks to go through that process. And so we'll probably leave it closed source for the time being. And then once they've gone through the full deep dive audit of the full cryptography from ground up, so to speak, then we feel confident about it, we'll be switching it back to open source, probably in a few weeks, right? Just for security purposes, it's best to leave it closed source just for the time being until we can do a full audit. But from everything we've seen thus far, the code looks great as it is now. A couple more changes have to be made, but that'll be probably done by the end of the day today or maybe tomorrow. And then we're ready to cut 319, hopefully tomorrow as well, and get online by, next week.
So what was
Great.
in 318.1 then?
318.1 was so we have this this function called halt signing, which basically is just the network's ability to tell Bifrost, like, hey, just stop signing stuff. Don't be signing transactions. Just and that works very well for outbound transactions, but it doesn't work very well. It kind of ignores UTXO consolidations where an EVM transactions get stuck and they have to broadcast a transaction to get unstuck. And until we actually knew with 100% certainty, or at least close to 100% certainty as possible, that the other vaults were not compromised, we didn't want to sign more transactions, because the way the attack kind of works is you have to ask for information from the other nodes through a key sign process, and then fail the key sign to trigger another key sign to get another another piece of data, and another piece of data, another piece of data, another piece of data, and you do a bunch of times, and you do that enough times, you can extract the keys from the other nodes that is out there. So we didn't want to keep on signing transactions on the other vaults, just in the off chance that there is some malicious attacker that is existing on those other vaults, because that could be the case. You don't know that, right? And so we wanted to just make sure we're not signing anything to potentially leak key information in the current code base. So we wanted to make a change to Bifrost so we asked nodes to shut down Bifrost, to be absolutely sure nothing's going to be communicated. We're not going to try to do key signs. Shut down Bifrost for the time being, just out of an abundance of caution. Make a change to Bifrost so that we respect the halt signing kind of flag for not just outbounds, but also for UTXO consolidation and other types of transactions that we might sign. And then once that's the case, get Bifrost back online and getting all the nodes to observe, Bitcoin and XRP and all the other different chains, and get those to the tip so that it'd be ready for a churn once we get the code, changed and fixed before that point. We just want to make sure we wanted to get all the network up and running to the tip, and just so that the network is ready for us to make our code change and deploy that code change to the protocol. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, smart. Now you guys are taking safety very seriously. So yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, is there any other teams that are affected by this exploit, or are you unable to, or you don't know that maybe?
No, we thought initially it was something novel, and after deeper diving, we don't think other libraries are exposed to it. We looked at a few of them; it looked fine. The ones that were exposed to it were like kind of dead libraries, right? Of like projects that are been dead for a long time and nobody's using that code anyway. And so it wasn't. It ended up not being something we needed to tell the other nodes or not other nodes, other protocols. But it took us a while to figure out the details of how to even get to this place. Like, it's not something you could just like turn. You know, this pathway is very complicated. It required top tier talent to even find the thing, like in a little, like literally, like some of the best GG20 cryptographers on the planet to come to help us figure out where this thing is. And yeah, so it required, you couldn't just like Claude your way into this situation. I don't think. I mean, I tried to use Claude personally to find this thing, and it was not able to. In fact, I turned Hugin on to this code base to do a deep dive into it, and Hugin actually found another exploit that has nothing to do with any of the things that happened this past Friday. It actually found some other 0-day that existed in the code base since 2020. It was introduced in 2020. Like, that was before the original hacks, back in the day, in 2021. It was actually predating all of that. And after 2021, if for people who were here at the time, there was like massive amount of talent that came forward to audit the code base, and nobody had found it back then, which is kind of funny. But Hugin had found it, and obviously it's patched now. But but that was another kind of like funny thing that in the effort to find this exploit, we actually had found something else.
It's
So this
crazy.
this attacker, he did use AI, right? Weren't there fingerprints all over the code that it was AI written?
Well, we don't know what his code looked like, right? I would agree that they had probably used AI because uh on the user on Discord, Dinosaurus or whatever the name was, he talked about Claude a couple of times in his dialogue. So that would insinuate that they probably, if you're talking about Claude, you probably use it, right? Like, maybe not necessarily, but likely. And it made me think like that it's possible this individual had access to Mythos. I don't know if that's the case or not, because I don't think that this issue would have been foundable or findable via Claude by itself. I think it's just too complicated, too layered, so to speak. Um, Maybe with certain aids or something like this, like, I don't know. Who knows? But would Mythos be able to find it? Well, supposedly some of the attributes of Mythos is that it's able to find more complicated or layered issues, and so it would be much more capable, according to the description of what I've heard people say from blah blah blah. So I don't know if this person had access to Mythos or not. I have no reason to believe they did, really, to be honest. But it would make sense to some degree and fit in the puzzle piece to some degree. But I don't know that to be the case.
But even if they did, this person, they definitely know what they're doing. Like they get
Yeah,
like they got to know their cryptography. Like this isn't just some rando using $200 a month Claude to figure something out.
I
This,
find that highly improbable that it's just some rando who knows how to who knows how to write a prompt, right? Like, I would suggest this person actually knew what they were doing and they have some experience with cryptography, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, I've seen in this process, I've been contacted or DM'd many times from many different people, and some of them are anonymous, Twitter people who are, building AI bots that look for things and whatever. And some of them are like other teams, right? Other teams from other projects who have a dedicated MPC team or like threshold signing or multi-party computation. Um, Teams reaching out with like, oh, I think I found it. It's this problem, right? And then like it was they're all saying the same thing, because even like back in 23 there were like two major exploits that came out for GG20. One was called TSS Shock and one was called Bitforge. And both of those problems were plugged for us back then. one of the problems, it wouldn't even matter if we didn't plug it because it required you to get like 1 million key sign failures in order to pull out the keys, and to get 1 million key sign failures within a churn is, I think it's pretty
Dude, I feel like we've been close a few times. Those freaking key sign failures, man.
to 1 million is like a very large number. I don't think it's
I know,
it's
yeah.
practical, but in any case, so they thought that it was like one of these two or whatever. And it's funny because like we wanted to vet that as well. Like we did that. It was one of the first things we had done, is just like look at old, issues, and just make sure we still patch those things. And in the process of doing so, not only me but also other security members were able to build proof of concept using Chat GPT or Claude or whatever, to build proof of concept that prove that Bitforge is still exploitable on THORChain's code base, and obviously being a false positive, right? And you had to do a series of prompts after that fact to verify that the proof of concept is actually a proof of concept, which oftentimes it was not. So it gave not just me and the other engineers, but also people external to us at other protocols and other teams, and also false positives that it was Bitforge or TSS Shock or one of these earlier things. And that just wasn't the case here.
Well, it's I'm a bit relieved that this wasn't some known bug or some patch, the library was updated a year ago somewhere else and we missed it or whatever.
Well,
It's nice to hear.
I'm not saying that, because like so when we THORSec had in the THORSec channel, we have like a private channel for like security conversations. Every time there was a Binance update on their library, there would be a push, like a notification to Discord saying, hey, there's a new change or whatever. And we would always treat that as like a 0 day, right? Because you don't know what the update is, you don't know what's being changed, right? You don't know like that kind of information. So we would always treat that as, okay, assuming there's a 0 day in this PR that's just being updated. And then the security team would go through the process of vetting that. And if there was issues in there that they saw that would be exploitable to us, then obviously we pull it in. And if there wasn't, we wouldn't. And I think some of these issues were, like I said, like are really complicated and really like hard to find. And we might have missed some cases and scenarios. Like, again, I'm going to get to more detail about that when the timing is right. But like there would be, it's a complicated thing that spanned a large amount of time to make it really hard to connect all the dots together, if you can say that.
Okay.
Understood. We do have Hans joining us from Rujira. Thanks for joining us, Hans. How's it going?
That's good. Thanks for having me on. Second week in a row. Very nice.
Yeah, I love it, man. I hope you're a regular. Say, do you have an update for us? I know you were working on some numbers, and that is something that the community was very interested in. So maybe I'll just kick it to you if there's any update you want to give.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can't really take much credit. It was Alex's proposal, as he comes in when a proposal needs to be made and saves the day. And I said, look, well, I said, I'm interested to see the numbers. Let me know when they're around. And he said, can you do the numbers for me? So we ran the numbers and just sort of checked THORChain as a protocol in its entirety end to end, rather than looking at the funds that were moved away, looking at what the liabilities of the protocol are today and what assets it holds in the vaults remaining, and setting up a store migration to fix this. So it looks, it's kind of provisional numbers at the moment. Not going to commit until the code's been reviewed, etc. But it looks like the gross deficit is something at about 8.7 million. So actually kind of revision
8.7?
8.7 in today's value, rather than the 10 that was kicked around. And the proposal suggests to use protocol liquidity to plug as much of that gap as possible, and then use allocate to savers, basically. Well, synths in general, but it's hard to apply to synths because they're all owned by individual users. Savers is a single ownership of the synth assets. And just with that straight like-for-like assets, it looks like we can get to about 8 million coverage. So it leaves 7,700K in assets that can't be covered like for like directly out of protocol liquidity. But the Treasury still has, I think, 1.7, 2.2, or something like that in exogenous assets. So there's a path to kind of full recovery and having full solvency of protocol.
What about the 650,000 rune bonded to the node? That's worth about 260 grand.
Yeah, I
Can
mean, I
that
think it's
go
still part of
towards it?
another discussion afterwards, right? There's a bunch of notably ETH.Thor, which is generally kind of distributed as a synth asset rather than a savers pool, so it's harder to allocate. But I think there's a kind of a case to be made for a longer community discussion around how does a reserve swap its current holdings into what it needs to cover some of these other assets. And yeah, like you say, there's a 600k from the attacker. Removing some of the POL from these pools is going to free up about 4.7 million rune as well. So there's a kind of a big chunk to decide what to do with.
That's one thing I'm confused on, guys. The hacker stole exogenous assets. He did not steal any rune.
Correct. Yeah.
What was that? Was it impossible for him to steal the
Yeah,
rune?
it's
Why couldn't he
impossible
steal the
because
rune?
the vaults, like the Asgard vaults, don't have any rune inside of them. The rune's maintained by the protocol by itself, like the actual THORChain blockchain. The vaults are a wallet that exists on Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatever else, right? And so
Yeah.
there's no rune in those things. Rune was never exposed in this context. It was just the exogenous assets.
Okay, so it's one thing to fill the hole for the exogenous assets. Now in essence, we're what do you call it? We have an excess of rune now. What do we do with these extra rune tokens, right? Is that your question, Hans?
The rune of this attacker, or which rune are you talking about?
The rune from the pools.
Yeah, there's two buckets on there. There's the attacker's rune, and then there's the rune that's come out of the pools.
So we also have to figure out what to do with that rune.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, it's kind of technically Treasury owned rune, right? It was a Treasury owned rune that was paired with these exogenous assets and deposited into the pools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, like there's a currently there's a ban vote going on in the community. I haven't looked in a while,
Yes.
but
It's passed, I think.
Is it passed already? Or
I think so. Yeah.
so whenever the ban gets passed, which I don't know, the slash thing was I think passed, but I'm not sure the ban was. Maybe it was, but that
maybe we should tell the audience what the ban is again. Sorry, we're jumping ahead.
Yeah. So back in the OG days in 2019 or maybe 2020, it was probably 2020. I remember adding this functionality to the code base just as like a safety guard. Like, what if one day we needed this kind of tool, kind of thing, just but put it in kind of the back pocket, and didn't really think we'd ever actually use it necessarily. But the idea is that with a 2/3 majority of the nodes voting to ban a specific individual, it basically just marks that individual to be kicked out and never come back in again. And then it yanks some amount of their rune from their bond and puts it into the reserve. By default, I put it at like 5,000 runes, something very, very tiny, just because I didn't want to create the incentive of like people to vote and steal other people's rune, or I don't know, some kind of weird and wild situation. But we just voted to change the bond slash from 5,000 rune to 1,000,000 rune. And once the nodes vote again to ban this individual, it'll do really two things for us. One is it'll yank the 635,000 rune that's approximately bonded to the node now. It'll yank it and then put it into the reserve for storage. We can decide later how we want to deploy that rune, whatever. It's kind of, secondary point. And the other thing is it ensures that when we enable churning again, in a few days or next week, whatever it is, that individual will not participate in the keygen process. Obviously, we don't want them to be like still in the network for obvious reasons. They're not even bonded anymore because we've yanked all their bonds, so their incentive is all gone. And also, we don't want them just to be a dick and to start like failing the keygen continuously, just like so we can't even churn anymore because we need 100% of nodes to cooperate in order for us to produce a keygen to churn. And this one individual, because he has no bond left, he's got no incentive to not do it other than just not to be a dick or whatever. And so this ban will basically kick them out, and so that the next key gen, they're not going to be participating in that process, and so we can go ahead and key gen and churn, and everything will be just fine.
Okay, so there's kind of a lot of elements to this. So as Hans said, there is a couple buckets of rune that we need to discuss, and maybe at a later date. Obviously, the slash of the attacker's bond, and then also the rune that was paired with the exogenous assets that were taken. So that's one thing. The liquidity hole is around 8.7 million, I believe. I think that's what Hans said. So because this is a big thing in the community, people just want clarity on this. They want to understand the numbers. So is the 8.7 million the number we need to address in order to become solvent to resume the network, or is 8.7 plus that 700K or whatever it was in order to resume normal operation? I'm sorry,
Well,
that's
the
an obvious question.
8.7, the 8.7 is it's the difference between the total accounts of secured assets, the total accounts of trade assets, the total deposits in dual LPs, less whatever is available in the Asgard vault as measured. So it only really becomes an issue, technically speaking, if you have a bank run, right? And everybody wants to withdraw all their assets. But you know, the right and proper thing to do is to make sure that we adjust internal accounting, which we can do safely to guarantee that if everything winds down to zero and that last person comes along and wants their last dollar back, then the protocol is able to do that. But you know, it's only when we get down to that last 700K now that would be an issue, and there's plenty of funds in the treasury and reserve to plug that hole and take it down to zero.
Yep. By the way, Hans, if you do get to a place where you have like access rune because of all the situation, one option to do with it is you can put it into there's a new module that was just created very recently in like 3.18, I think, or 3.17, whatever it was, for the POL deployment. So you can deploy rune into this module, and the network will just deploy that rune into pools. This is like a feature we'd voted on for ADR 25 or whatever the ADR was. And so if you do have excess rune that you want to give back to the POL, the easiest way to do that is just put it into this module, and then the protocol will just slowly kind of, deposit into various pools based upon what is
easy. Yeah, we'll just do that then. Sorry.
That's probably the easiest thing to do, and it'll just deploy to like the Solana pool probably, and whatever pools that make the most sense based upon the fees generated divided by the pool depth.
Sounds good.
Just be Denny and Hans, just to be clear. Denny, you asked about the 8.7 million. There's 8 million within the protocol POL that we can use to cover. So 8.7 minus 8 is 700,000, and there's 700,000 unaccounted for that we have to come up.
So the 8 million coverable is for direct like-for-like assets. So there is enough POL in the Bitcoin pool to cover the missing, like the shortfall in Bitcoin. There's enough like ETHUSDC to cover a certain amount of the ETHUSDC. There is, there's 15 wrapped Bitcoin left over in POL, which we've already covered whatever wrapped Bitcoin moved as part of the exploit. But there's still 15 left over. And so there's plenty of funds there. They're just not denominated like for like. They'll need trading and exchanging and moving into the right place, which we can't do until we turned and the network's operating again.
Yeah. So trade assets will be fine. Secured assets will be fine. They'll all be backed. Liquidity providers. These guys have been getting, kicked in the nuts for years now. Do they have to worry about being diluted? So the rune price has to go even higher now for them to break even, or are they unaffected? They'll be okay. And
there's a degree of that. The process touches the savers pools, which will impact that. The report that I posted in Discord shows the degree to which those synths are being diluted. Most of them are very small, but there's also a discussion to be had, I think, before we commit to the state migration, to maybe cap the amount of dilution per synth asset. To I don't know, like a percent. They're kind of single digit percents really. There's not a lot that's kind of going to make any kind of meaningful impact. But
okay,
take a look at it and see what you think really, because you just kind of, you clamp it there, and that 700k might go up slightly, and so the treasury needs to fund it from a different asset class.
Okay, but the LPs, they don't have to worry about, if their maths were saying, Rune hit $5 to break even. It's not all of a sudden Rune has hit $10 for them to break even. It might have to hit 510 or 550 or something. Like
It's looking more like that, yeah. The kind of smaller,
Okay.
and if any of them kind of jump out and look like it's too big, then there's a strong case for clamping it and limiting that.
I'm definitely in favor of that. If we can do it. Yeah. Okay. So then how do you figure that out then? So you still have to figure that math out, Hans? That's still
It's done. I think we just need to have a discussion. We'll take a look at the probably easier to do it on the thread in Discord, because that's where the numbers are in the report and things. But just eyeballing it. Where are we here? Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them that could probably do with clumping. Atom looks like it's to about 35%, and AVAX USDC at
that's a
28.
lot.
So yeah, but there's we're talking about, like, in that the amount of atom we need to make up is 13,000. So it's $26,000 worth of atom in total. It's as a share of the overall shortfall. It's not overly significant, and I think it can be covered from treasury or reserve assets without too much of a without breaking too much sweat.
Okay, good. Now what about Thor? The Thor token, Thor swap token holders. I don't understand exactly what happened there, but they're concerned that they, how to, like, I don't know, like all of their pool was drained or something. Like all their tokens were in this Asgard vault and they all got drained or something like that. And so we don't really have any tokens to replace them. Am I understanding this right?
I don't think that's true. I haven't looked, to be
I could be
honest.
wrong. I'd be totally
Yeah,
wrong.
like this, mathematically, it should be, when we churn, we generally spread the assets across all the vaults for reasons that might be obvious. I would suspect it would just be 1/6. I don't know the answer. I haven't looked, but I suspect it would be just 1/6 of whatever the Thor token is. The problem is, for that kind of pool, I don't recall if we have synth units. I don't think we have ever had synth units on that. And because it's an ERC20, and then the POL is not really deployed in that particular pool. And so, like, how do you, if the POL's not there, the synth unit's not there, so, like, then what do you have to, replenish the pool of the whatever quantity of third tokens that are actually stolen? I think that's where the complexity comes in. We'll have to figure something, like, maybe, like, the thing to do is take the rune that we took from the bond of the attacker, put that into the pool. Like, I don't know. I haven't done the research myself. I'm more on the security side than this stuff.
But it sounds like some rune will have to be sold to replace some of these exogenous assets.
I don't know about that. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. But by some, I mean, like, I'm not worried. I mean, I think some people are freaking out. There's gonna be, like, all this extreme sell pressure and crash rune price. Like, no, like,
as you said, like, a couple months ago, you said, like, you bought and sold, $5 million worth of rune, and it had very little effect on the price. I just think people are always, like, obviously selling is bad, and sell pressure is not a good thing. I'm obviously not saying that, but, like, the amount of sell pressure that's required to actually, like, have any meaningful impact on the prices is a lot more than people think.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like you have to market sell. You could do a week-long streaming swap if you want. Like,
yeah.
So, or put in a limit order.
Yeah, do a DCA, like, get like 1 million rune and DCA sell, like, just like 100,000 rune per day or something. Which would have near zero impact.
I think some people in the community are worried about that, sensitive about it. I might be a bit, what's the word? I'm not worried about it. Doesn't concern me. But
yeah, I don't. It doesn't concern me that I don't even think about it. I really don't. really care, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. It's just like people are tending to be overly sensitive about some things when it comes to economics, about like sell pressure, about burning rune. If these things are not as effective to cause any real meaningful impact on the actual price of rune, which is why I don't focus on those things. I generally just focus on fundamental changes to the protocol that just adds value, right?
Yeah.
And it actually improves the demand center for THORChain.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there, I do have a question that I want to ask. I know you talked about this topic a little bit, Chad, but is there something else you want to say before we sort of switch topics? It's kind of the same conversation, but I just want to make sure if there's
Well,
anything else you want to say.
I gave my general kind of overview of where we're at now, and the 3.19 release is coming out hopefully tomorrow, at the end of the day tomorrow. Maybe not, maybe Monday or something like this. But in the next few days, we should see it at 3.19 come out, which has all the patches and hopefully have the store migration in there and all the things we need to have in order to get us back online. And then by the end of the week, next week, we should be online and trading and all that stuff.
Beautiful. All right. And thank you for a rapid response. And guys, these guys have been working really hard. I know most of you know this. This was grueling work, a lot of collaboration from many teams, a lot of sleep deprivation, fatigue, and all this stuff. So guys, just, you know, take it easy sometimes on Discord, right? I mean, it's crazy what's happening. But okay, Chad. So I think I heard you say something like this. It's something I've been thinking about a lot, and I'm pretty comfortable with this idea. So right now, just to back up a little bit, in the community, there are node operators that are basically uplifting members of our own community. There's quite a few. If I had to take a guess out of it, based on my understanding, I would say there's probably like low three figures of individuals that could technically be uplifted into node operator given their skill set. Okay, this is going on right now. This has been going on way before since the the current exploit that we've had. Given the new world that we live in, right? It's kind of modifying the game theory in my brain a lot, whether this is Mythos or an advanced AI model. I mean, you're looking around, seems like there's protocols getting hacked every 2 or 3 days at this point. It's unbelievable. It's just carnage out there. In my opinion, I think it's reasonable if we circle the wagons a little bit, that we institute some sort of manner of where we just don't have nodes that are unknown to the community join. And because right now we're already on the path to increase our decentralization with unique node operators. Like I said, there's tons of individuals who are coming online. No, it's really exciting, guys. Like it's really cool. There's some node operators who are doing really amazing altruistic things right now. But I think there's a case to be made that we circle the wagons, a walled garden, right? Like while these attack vectors are going out, and we only maybe somehow a mechanism we allow node operators to whitelist new addresses, right? Like people who are trusted in the community. It's not a fully formulated thought yet. I've gone deeper in that, but I don't want to get too specific. I want to kick it back to you if you've had similar thoughts and maybe take the conversation from there.
Yeah, I get the drive for that. It does protect the network easier if you basically dox the node operators. But it has the negative as well of if you're doxed, then it becomes easier to attack as well. So say we add Monero, right, as a chain, and all the operators are doxed. That just increases our,
Can I
risk level.
clarify?
Yeah, sure.
Not necessarily docs, but just allow certain Thor addresses to be node operators. Have it gated that way. You don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Where you allow
how would you
already.
How would you establish that this address is trusted or not? Like what's that?
It would just, for the way I have it, think it is you grandfather the addresses that have been in here, or maybe you have some time weighted thing. I don't know. Not fully formulated idea, honestly. But just, good actors that are established, like Kenton, for example, right? He's, if Kenton found an institutional player and they said, hey, I love THORChain. I want to invest. I want to become a node operator based on Kenton's reputation. He said, okay, this is going to be their Thor address. They're good to go. Something like that, where we have, I mean, it's not perfect. There's no perfect defense, but just something maybe like message command or something where nodes. And I also thought game theory wise, like what if a node operator had to switch Thor addresses real quick? They should be able to just add another redundancy address for themselves. Not fully formulated thought. So
yeah,
that's basically
I guess I don't know how we would. That becomes like a system based upon clout, right? Like
Right.
And so what is the metric to establish that this address or this individual has clout, right? And like clout is they're good one day, and then next year they run into a financial problem because their mother got sick and has cancer or something like this, and they need money for surgery or whatever, right? Like it happens to people sometimes, and they get financially strapped and they get financially pressured, and there you go, right? Like, and then now they're motivated to attack in that scenario. I'm still I don't like the idea of clout in general on DeFi protocols, just my own personal 2 cents. I'm okay with I kind of floated the idea earlier this week that we can put like a minimum age on addresses that become node operators. Like let's just call it 6 months, for example. Maybe this is too much, but by doing that, if you are somebody and like, oh, hey, I found this exploit in TSS, right? And I want to exploit it, I want to extract, money. You have to create a wallet and send some rune to it just to create the first transaction. Now you got to sit on that exploit for the next 6 months. And then you can bond and become a node operator and all that stuff. But that at least gives us a 6-month window between that for the team to maybe possibly hopefully find whatever this thing is and plug it, right? So that gives you a little bit of a buffer. Obviously it's not ironclad, but it gives you a little bit of a buffer that I could theoretically get on board with, possibly.
That would be something, because the one thing I was thinking of was actually the conversation we had in Las Vegas. We were in the car where you were telling me just the levels of AI and where it's going, and it's just the capability is just going to go through the roof, and the layers of abstraction and complexity that these AI models would be going to go down. I mean, we live in a really freaking crazy environment right now where AI is just like this super monster, and I'm not necessarily saying AI is responsible for this attack, don't get me wrong, but I think this is just where it's going to go. I think we gotta up it a little bit. We gotta, we've always been very defensive as a protocol. My gut tells me maybe something like that is just helps. I mean, we just need an additional buffer. That's what my instinct. I don't know what you got other
Yeah,
guys
I mean,
think,
it's
but
it's fair to say, so the part of the issue with these AI tools, coding tools, is that you got the blue teams have it and the red teams. Red teams are trying to exploit. The blue teams are trying to defend, right? And when you got a situation where you have red team versus blue team and they both have the same tools, like who wins? And generally speaking, the red team will probably more or less win. The reason why that is because blue team has got to find all the things and plug all the things, and then red team's got to find one thing and go through that one thing. So they have a little bit of an
yep.
advantage in that context. And obviously, we have open source code in our case, and like DeFi does in general, and that just creates a lot of opportunity, right? So it's going to be a challenging time moving forward, right? For us, we weren't, we didn't. THORChain wasn't born in a time when AI coding was a thing. I had to literally
Right.
write everything by hand, character by character, which now seems ridiculous. Back then, it seemed normal, but right now, looking back at myself, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that. And it's just like that's so much time to like sit down and spend more than a year of my life every day. But I don't know. We'll have to see how like AI kind of changes in what happens over the next 6 months, year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. But I'm hesitant to adopt some kind of way credit system or cloud system, and I think even Boone's been talking about wanting to have the OGs, like I view an example, or Kenton might be an example of being an OG who builds like multi-sig wallets where the network signs once and then me as an individual signs the other one. And so that way, you have half trusted, half not trusted, right? Half DeFi, half CeFi in hopes to get the best outcomes, right? I think that's what his mentality is, but I'm hesitant to adopt that kind of stuff personally. I think maybe I'm too purist, but
I understand.
you
It's
know,
a complicated. Go ahead, Kenton.
Yeah, I side with Chad. Saw it being a docs node. Like I actually don't want that. I do. Like I take comfort in there's a lot of nodes that are anonymous in THORChain. Right. I've made this choice. I don't think every node should do what I did. This is just what suits me. Um, but like what if my node operator keys? I'm worried they got compromised,
Mhm.
and I want to churn out and start a new address and new node,
Mhm.
right? And I have had this where I've had my address. I feel like it's docs. People know about it. Well, I want to start a new one. right? Now I got to wait 6 months to do it.
The,
Um,
the key to
so
that was you would have to have a redundancy. I think all node operators should have redundant addresses in the event that something bad happened like that. That's what I would say. I think we can get around that issue, but I do
yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Part of me wonders too is like this happens all the time in life, not just crypto. Anything in life, anytime there's like an outlier event occurs, everyone's buttholes pucker up, and you become uber cautious about everything. So it's like the Mark Twain quote, if a cat jumps on a hot stove, it'll never jump on a stove again, hot or cold, right? So it's like, was this just, the one thunderstorm in the Sahara that occurs every, 40 years? And are we all going to suddenly prepare for the next thunderstorm? Like, I wonder about that too. Like, are we knee
Yeah.
jerking into making things so much more difficult for us? Was this just a truly one off event? Like, I don't know. I have been thinking about it. The things that have screwed up, that have hurt THORChain, have been like, we're so focused on the Sybil attack, the 2/3 attack on THORChain. No one was thinking about a single node ever attacking THORChain. I think we all thought it was impossible. And so maybe we do need to stop and think about how to prevent
Well,
one node from doing
I don't
something.
think we thought it was impossible. That we have seen, like, TSS shock, for example, or Bitforge I mentioned earlier. Those are all mechanisms to extract keys, right? Is that was never we always. I think cryptographers definitely would have known that it was always, but there's always a possibility of that, right? But we had systems, we had open source libraries that have been around. A lot of people utilize these open source repos. So there's some reason to have some level of confidence, right? But you can never have 100% confidence like that. That's obviously completely impractical to achieve that kind of level. But that's also kind of like why I started in the Discords. I started to kind of float like this idea that I had in 23 called cold vaults as a way of individual operators, even like somebody like Denny, who's not the most technically savvy person in the world, could, put up some rune, as a bond, and the network would send him some like BDC, for example, into a hardware wallet, like a ledger or something like this. And he just sits on it. He doesn't do anything with it. He just sits on it. And if he does anything he should be doing, like he moved it to some other address that he wasn't supposed to, then we just slash the bond, right? And that way you're taking a lot of the liquidity. Like you only actually really need in liquidity on the network at any given moment, like 10%, maybe 15, if on a high volume day, maybe 20. But generally speaking, you only really need 10%. So if we send, in theory, 90% of our liquidity to thousands of hardware wallets, right? There's no complicated math cryptography thing that could be exploited or whatever, because it's just sitting in a offline hardware wallet or whatever, or you could build it. You could use a voltsig, right? In this scenario, it doesn't actually matter what the wallet is. You could do anything you want, but it's your rune that's being put up as collateral that you lose if you lose it. And that way, like 90% of our liquidity is not being secured through cryptography and complicated math. It's being secured just by offline hardwares, and it's super decentralized because there's like hundreds of them or just thousands of them, and anybody can do it. You don't need to be a technical master to run a node, right? As you do to run a node, you can be any random person that knows enough about crypto that you know how to run a hardware wallet and use a ledger or any kind of just to secure your own wallet, your own funds. And if you don't do it, then you get slashed, right? And the bond goes back into the pool and everything's fine. Like the network doesn't even care. In fact, the network profits from that scenario because we would slash you at like a 1.5x or 1.1x or some larger number. So the network would actually, get more liquid when an attack happens rather than less liquid, right? And so like that to me is like an idea that I surfaced in 23, and we talked about it, and it was deprioritized for a handful of reasons. And there's other things we were working on, but maybe in light of what happened now, like it's maybe that's something to do, because it just significantly reduces our exposure. It introduces other exposures, to be fair, to be objective about it. There's new risks that come into place that should be thought about and reasoned and thought through. But at least, if somebody were to exploit THORChain in this hypothetical future, the amount of liquidity they could steal is so small that it would never be bad. Obviously, it'd be bad, but it would never be the amounts required to cause the protocol to fail completely.
Yeah, very complex topic. Maybe we can dedicate
Why
a
why
podcast
did it
to.
get I forget why cold vaults was kind of stopped or shut down. Was there some
I think like the
kink in the reasoning? Like there was
yeah,
some
I mean, there was a few concerns. I think there was a problem around monitoring that many wallets. What might be some technical issues with Bifrost in that context. I think there was concerns about a flash like movement in price, like all this, like the whole market just goes down 50% for some reason, and there's like a flash crash. That a bunch of the wall holders wouldn't be quick enough to send back the assets they already have to protect themselves from being effectively liquidated, and then that would have caused a bunch of Rune to be sold. Right, if you get liquidated, right, then the Rune gets sold, right?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right, and so like that's probably the greatest risk. But at the same time, like imagine a scenario where like we did like a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm just like hypothetical. We're having a thought experiment. Like every dollar of Rune you put in, you get $1 of Bitcoin. Now, if Rune's price goes down a penny, then like you're liquidated and you lose, right? So obviously that's like completely impractical. You would never do that. Conversely, if you for every $1 million of Rune, you get 1 penny of BTC, right? That's highly secure. You're never going to get liquidated, but it's so capital inefficient that it provides zero value to the protocol, like in both extremes. So one, you're like highly capital efficient, but it provides no security, and the other way is the opposite, right? And so if you do like a 2-to-1 ratio, for every $2 of Rune you put up, will give you $1 of BTC or something like this, or Ether or some other asset. Then if we flash crash to 50%, then you run the risk of being liquidated, and we sell half of your position, whatever that is, right? But like even a flash crash that doesn't happen in a single block, typically, like it usually happens over the course of hours, and you can have things in place that will like just auto detect that Rune's price is falling relative to the assets you're securing, and then just send the Bitcoin back. All you have to do is just send the Bitcoin back, right? Or send the ether back, and it's fine, right? So it's not like you have to have the money on hand, because you always have the money on hand to get yourself out of that situation. But that's like something to consider, right? But if you do like a 3-to-1 ratio instead of a 2-to-1 ratio, okay, you're less capital efficient. It's $3 to secure $1 worth of Bitcoin, but it's a lot more secure. Like you don't have to worry about liquidation nearly as much. So then maybe in that case you would use like a hardware wallet. But if you're going to do like a 2-to-1 ratio or like a 1.5-to-1 ratio or whatever, maybe then you would want to have like a hot wallet that sits on a server, like kind of like semi-offline, so to speak, and it's just monitoring the network and it's okay, the value of Rune, the value of this, and then when the price comes down too much, then it just sends coins back, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting THORFi flashbacks. Like this, use it Rune as collateral.
Well, it's like that's about leverage and about like and that's a very different scenario than what this is, but yeah.
It's hard. It adds a layer of complexity that it makes it very hard for me to model in my brain. I'd have to take a lot of time to think about it, but and whenever you inject complexity, that's hard to bring to the market, right? I'm curious, Hans, is there something you want to say over this? Maybe like when it comes to like what you think we should do, AI models, threat vectors, like what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been sitting, listening to thoughts. I think there's two parallel discussions going on here, right? And there is the one which is we have now have a known issue, or we saw an attack vector. We need to figure out how we stop that from happening again, however unlikely it is. It's that kind of feedback loop that's made the aviation industry so safe, all that kind of stuff, right? There's no kind of hiding away, shying away when there's an issue. It's always kind of black box thinking that we are going to address every single issue and we're going to figure out how we mitigate it in the future. And so, cold vaults or whatever that response is it should be investigated. But then on the other side of things, you've got kind of how do we protect ourselves against the unknowns? Like you say, Chad, kind of red blue team thinking, and it's really difficult. I mean, this is the inflection point, right? Like, sort of crossed a Rubicon in the last couple of months, and protocols that started some years ago and have a much, they were audited and hacked by a few sophisticated participants, but ultimately became largely secure and grew TVL to significant amounts, just like THORChain did. They become honeypots and they become like attack vectors that anyone with you had to have like an intent and a mindset to do it, but also the technical ability. And now you don't have necessarily to have that threshold of technical ability is so much lower that the pool of people that are now able to try and achieve a hack on your protocol has got so much bigger. And where if you started a protocol from scratch today, your bug bounties and your all that kind of stuff are going to be more attractive to these people. They're going to want to earn the 5, 10, 15 grand you'll pay out for a 0 day, versus the 10 million that you can take if you attack an established protocol. And so I just think it's as like Chad's right. The probabilistically speaking, red team is going to win, but that doesn't mean you don't blue team this as well. And I think it's a case of the way you said you point Hugo at GG20, like it's just point at everything, point at the entire upstream stack and have it ticking away 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just don't come back to it until you found an exploit. And that's the kind of degree that I think motivated participants will have when they're trying to attack. And as the incumbents, you can it's easy to kind of sit and rest on your laurels a bit. I mean, I guess it's like, we've not been hacked so far. We're pretty secure. Somebody would have done it by now if they were going to. So I think it's just patch the specific issue for this. Find sensible ways to mitigate single node operators from attacking the network, but then also look at things on a much bigger picture and be like, we need to be continually on the offensive against our own protocol.
Yeah, big wake up call. I'll switch gears just a little bit. Chad, there is a conversation going on with XMR integration, right? There's two camps here, monovolt, multivolt. And one a little bit of the confusion, I want to kick it to you, is when it comes to solvency in the network. You've made the argument before, hey, with 1 vault, you can guarantee solvency at any time because it's 1 vault. Like, there's consensus there. If you have multiple vaults, if one gets rugged, you're probably not going to find that out until the next churn. But there's confusion if there's public view keys of each Asgard. Just say if we went multi-vault, does that not address the issue, or can that be manipulated?
No. Well, yes and no. So the design of Monero has actually changed since the last time you and I had that particular conversation. So view keys allow you to see, in my understanding is that view keys allow you to see inbound transactions to a wallet. It doesn't allow you to see outbound transactions to a wallet, from a wallet, I should say. But the network, I think, is going to be broadcasting both view keys and transaction keys. View keys being inbound, transaction keys being outbound. So once you broadcast, if you had multi-volt and you had 1 volt broadcast a transaction and they broadcast the view keys, then the other nodes can look at the view key and verify that the amount is correct, and it went out, and then it's actually in this block, it's the correct amounts, blah, blah, went to the correct location, correct address, and all that kind of stuff. So you can do it. Like that's no longer a good reason to do monovolt, is because of observability. That can now be done, if whether it's monovolt or multivolt. Monovolt is nice in the sense that that's always been the design or the intention. We always wanted to have more or less volts, right? And the only reason why it's not monovolt right now is because GG20 is too slow to be with 100 validators. You need 20, right? So it's not impractical to use it for the 100 validators, and that's the only reason why we even have multi-volt today. Frost is a lot faster of a protocol than GG20 by a fuck ton, and so you can do monovolt with 100 validators, and it's like, no, you could probably do it with 200 actually. Like, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like, it's pretty good, it's pretty fast. And so we had the option to do it, and by doing so, you're trying to go for the long-term goal of having a monovolt and being more secure from a Sybil attack perspective, because if you do multi-volt, you're exposing yourself to Sybil attacks. So now today you would need like 12 volts, 12 nodes in the same vault, and then you would get the keys, and then you could, rug that vault and steal the funds, and it would probably be profitable because you only had 2/3 of the nodes, not 3/3, so to speak. But I think this conversation requires a lot more nuance than most people, including myself, is capable of giving it. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the attacks on GG20 itself have been around the Pallier aspect to it. And Pallier is the way that it generates secrets within itself that it can use to communicate with other nodes to sign and kind of like zero knowledge proofs, so that it can produce a signature without revealing its key, right? In a sense. And that system is very complicated, and there's lots of attack vectors within the math, in a matter of speaking, sort of, which is being used for TSS shock. It was being used for Bitforge. It's being used for this thing that we just saw the other day. But DKLS doesn't have Pallier, right? And Frost doesn't have Pallier. Like Frost is a lot cleaner and simpler from a cryptography perspective than GG20 is, or even DKLS. DKLS is like, I think every major cryptographer in the world would probably, or at least the vast majority, would agree with me that DKLS is much more secure cryptography than GG20 is. So it's definitely a good move to go in that direction, but it's still very complicated. And with that complexity, there's a lot of like surface area. And the more surface area there is, the harder it is to audit, the harder it is to verify its security, and the more opportunity or cracks there might be in the system, so to speak, for a malicious black hat to come in and exploit them, whatever. Schnorr, which is powers Frost, if you want to call it that, is a much simpler cryptography, and it's a lot easier. It's relatively very simple to other cryptographies out there, and because of that, it's got a very small surface area, and it's got it's a lot easier. Not say that it's necessarily 100% secure. Like you cannot say those words, of course, but if I was a betting man, any reasonable person who understood these systems would obviously undoubtedly say that Schnorr is probably more secure. And that's just because by the matter of fact that it has less of a surface area to secure. So even just moving to DKLS alone gets rid of that Pallier thing that I mentioned earlier, which means the opportunity for attack has been diminished significantly, not zeroed. I'll never say it's zero, but it just becomes significantly harder to attack because of the way that DKLS works. And I would argue that Frost is even harder to attack than DKLS is. And so that's why, like, my personal opinion these days is that we actually use Frost, or Schnorr more accurately, for every chain we can use it for, because it is their more secure cryptography, in my opinion. And we can have I have yet to have a conversation with the security team about this, and I'm sure we will once we get past the current situation and get into a healthy state. But that Schnorr does not work for ECDSA, which is what Bitcoin is, what Ethereum is, that's what Litecoin is. I think Cosmos is ECDSA, I think. I'm not sure. Anyways, but Taproot, when it was added to Bitcoin, added the ability for Schnorr signatures in the Bitcoin blockchain. So now you can use Schnorr, aka Frost, for Bitcoin. For Ethereum, you can use a smart contract that's kind of like a shim layer between the 2 points, in a matter of speaking. So you can use that. This is what Chainflip actually does. Chainflip has been using Frost for years now, however many years they've been around, and they use Frost for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, and it works pretty darn well. They can't support something like Litecoin or Doge or Bitcoin Cash or these other ECDSAs that don't support Taproot or have some sort of smart contracting system thrown on top. And so they couldn't compete against us on the Litecoin and on many of these. And most chains are actually ECDSA, right? But if we can get Schnorr to work via Frost, as Chainflip does for Bitcoin and for Ethereum, you're already at like 90% of your total liquidity of the entire protocol is now under a different cryptography than what we're using now, which is GG20, which is out of those three things, I think it's pretty clear that GG20 is the least secure out of those three options, right? So
Right.
my leanings personally is I still like the idea at monovolt, or maybe even less than 6 AS cards to something larger or smaller rather, to like 3 or something. But I still lean towards a monovolt perspective because we can easily get rid of the biggest problem, which is the pallier part. Like the pallier is the issue here, not so much single or monovolt. Because if you have an exploit, right, in a multi-volt scenario, you can still exploit all of the vaults. And that could have happened here in this instance, and it didn't for reasons we don't really quite know. Most likely, my best guess is the individual who's attacking us doesn't have enough capital to attack all the vaults, just enough capital to attack one of the vaults, right? But the next attacker might be more well-funded and could actually have attacked all 6 vaults if they really, really wanted to. Like, multi-volt does not save you from that attack vector. It just makes it more expensive to execute that attack vector. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm leaning towards the idea of like, let's not try to have a blanket idea of whether single volt's secure or multi-volt secure, because it's much more complicated than that. That I guess into cryptography, right? Deep cryptography that's deeper than what I'm capable of understanding in my knowledge of being a non-cryptographer myself. And what I lean more towards is like, let's just use better cryptography rather than hand wave at monovolt versus multi-volt that doesn't really actually buy you any more security. It just makes it more expensive to attack the protocol.
Yeah, it's really fresh right now in everyone's mind because, they think, if we, to your point, all the vaults could have been exploited 100%. They
Yeah.
would require more capital, right? I think there is a comfort factor there. Maybe it might be slightly illogical. Like if we had like 2 vaults instead of just 1, I get what you're saying.
Yep. If you got 2 instead of 1, you can still do a Sybil attack, but instead of using 12 nodes, which is what it is today, it now requires, 2/3 of 50 nodes.
Right.
Right. So it's harder like that's the balance you're trying to strike between these 2 points. Are we trying to protect against Sybil attacks? Or are we trying to protect against 0 days on cryptography? In which case, even if you still, you're not protecting against this scenario because you can just attack all the vaults with the same thing. Even if it's multi-vault, you're not really getting any more security from that scenario. You're just, like I said, you're just making it more expensive. That's true. But outside of that, you're not making it any more difficult.
It's impossible to remove all the risk,
Sure.
right? There's some scenario we just have to accept. There's going to be a possibility,
Right.
right?
But this is why I was thinking about the whole call vault idea, because the call vaults get away from the cryptography at all, like entirely. Like at least 80% of your volume or your liquidity hypothetically would be offline and therefore unhackable, quote unquote, to put that in quotations. And so, or let's make it extremely more decentralized, with you get like 1,000 or 2,000 wallets around the world that are run by anonymous individuals, and some are hardware like Trezor or Ledger, and some are VoltSig, and some are GG20 implementations in some cases. Like whatever the hell they want to do, they can do what the hell they want to do, right? But like they don't have the problem of people churning into their wallets, like anonymous individuals coming out of nowhere and then becoming an owner of that wallet. No, it's all internal to yourself. You don't have the decentralization aspect to worry about. Each individual wallet doesn't have to worry about decentralization. We get the decentralization from the vast majority, like just have the vast numbers of them. That's what I like about the idea. And you're right, it adds complexity and it adds new forms of risk. Like I'm not oblivious to that, of course. But that's the trade-off that you're getting, and is the trade-off worth it or not? Is the ROI there? And that's debatable whether it is or not.
Yeah, this is such a complex topic. And I think, you could make the argument that the economic cost to attack THORChain was the defense in this particular case if the person did not have enough collateral to just get more nodes in to rug all the pools simultaneously.
It maybe only has a few $100,000 to his name.
Yeah,
if it was $4,
that might have been our saving grace.
That might have been our saving grace in this case. Yeah, sure.
That might have been. And if we have 2 vaults, maybe see, I'm like, you can just go back and forth all day. But and of course, if we have an attacker that has lots of liquidity, it doesn't effing matter. So, holy crap, you guys! It's so.
You can also make the argument, like another thing. Like I'm just spitballing here, and I don't know the answer, of course. But like, it's possible this attacker didn't want to like he wanted to make himself wealthy by becoming $8.7 million richer, right? And with $8.7 million, you can live quite well for the rest of your life without lifting
Sure.
another finger, right? But he also didn't want to like destroy a protocol that stood up for like his funds originally came from Monero. Like it's like the original source of his funds came from Monero. And maybe he really wanted us to be around to support Monero. Nor did he want to say, hey, the market cap of Rune right now is whatever the number is, 300 million, 500 million, whatever. I'm not sure what the market cap of Rune right is. Do I really want to zero $500 million worth of other people's money just so I can have 8.7 million in my pocket? Like that's like a pretty,
Or
they didn't give a rat's fuck and they were just want to make them like,
or they're waiting for us to add Monero so they can swap in our pools,
which is
the
I
exotic
I mean,
aspect
it's
the
kind of,
pools.
and that's fine too. Like, I don't really care, but like that's like maybe that's it. Like, I don't want to destroy it because I want them to be my exit, and so
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
like that possible, right? It's possible. Like, I have no idea, of course, but it's possible. And so
Do you guys, do you, Chad, have you seen this new guy that's talking about buying 10 million worth of Monero and Rune? Are you aware of this guy?
What a coincidence.
is it
So,
$8.7 million
very,
of
very odd timing.
very odd timing?
He's a Chinese guy. He was on Twitter talking about it. Now he's in the Telegram, the community Telegram.
Oh, is this a real person you're talking about?
Yeah. I'm DMing
It
with him
is
now.
100% real. Yeah.
I thought you were joking.
No, serious. And so I
Chad,
asked him, like, so what? Because he wants to get THORChain into China, into some Chinese platforms, indexes. He loves THORChain now, and so he loves Monero and THORChain. He wants to help get THORChain into China. So I'm talking to him about it, and but he's just got he's got a Chinese name, the Mandarin characters or whatever. I'm like, do you have an English name that you go by? And he goes, yes, I do. You can address me as Monero Old Bull. So I'm DMing Monero Old Bull. That's his name, you guys. And so I don't know if he's a freaking hacker. I don't know if he's legit. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when he got attacked, we got all this publicity, so people learn about THORChain that just could be loaded. You know, that could be, it could be a normal person. It's like, what do you? Oh my god!
But I'm in sales, guys. I'm trying to sell. So if there's even a smidgen of a chance to get our API into another DEX or another platform, I'm going to do it. I'll find out. So so we'll see. We'll see if we can deliver. But a very odd timing on those
Everything about this timeline is very odd right now. You know what I mean? But again, gosh dang it! Thank you. I just thank everybody again. If you just turn in late, thanks everyone to the community really sticking up. If you didn't go, we gave a heartfelt thank you, and thank you again, Chad, for.
I appreciate that.
I know it's the worst feeling in the world. You feel like you're getting stabbed in the stomach. You know what I mean? And Hans, I'm sure you've had some indigestion as well.
Not so much this time around. It was help out where I can, but in the past I know exactly that feeling.
Yeah. I think I've been through a lot, both professionally and personally, over the last few years. And I think I've just developed a thicker skin than I had in 2021. Not to say it doesn't feel terrible, obviously it does, but I'm more centered this time around than I was in 21, and and just moving forward.
There was a criticism lobbied at us our first Friday podcast, and the first exploit happened, and we just reached out. A lot of people online like, why are you guys laughing? Like, because we laughed, and I was just like, well, this ain't our first rodeo, you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of veterans at this point. We got tough skin.
I was thinking about that after. I'm like, somebody's gonna see that and take it the wrong way. You have to laugh.
Yeah,
that's how you know you're with solid people. Like, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, it's the middle of the night, you get a flat tire and you're stuck, and the people you're with just start freaking out, screaming and yelling, like, then you're screwed. But if everyone just starts cracking jokes and you're going to get through it, right? It doesn't, you can't change. The situation it's done. You can't change it. And the best way to get through it is just keeping a positive, open mind.
Yep.
Right. And, laughing was the best medicine to help get you into that state of mind, right? So it doesn't mean we diminish what happened or don't take it lightly. it means we're approaching it with our best mind we can. So, yeah, hopefully nobody
No, well, this is very
thinks
common.
thinks any less of that.
This is very common in the medical industry. You see really terrible things in the medical industry. You see children die. You see abuse cases. You see addiction. You see families getting torn apart. You see very traumatic, very horrendous looking trauma, right? And when it's all said and done, you laugh as a defense mechanism, right?
Mhm.
You're forming you're de-stressing,
Yeah.
and some people may see that and say, well, you're a psychopath. It's like, no, I either laugh, I joke about it now, or I take this home. You know what I mean? And it's just similar, right? I mean, you go through a traumatic event, you hold your brother, you say, all right, like, well, here we are, let's
Yeah.
figure it out, and it's just kind of a coping mechanism that humans have. So
And you
that's
go where
what
your
it is.
mind, where it's like when you ride a bike or you drive a car, wherever you're looking at a cute girl on the sidewalk. That's where you're going to drive towards, right? You go in the direction you're looking. It's the same with the way your thoughts. If you're thinking bad, negative things, you're going to go in that direction. And so if we're thinking positive
I like
outcome,
how Kenton's just driving down the street and just like going on sidewalks and killing people.
oh yeah,
It's just
oh
because
yeah.
every time there's a hot girl that walks
How do you
down the
pick up
side.
girls? You got to hit them with your car. Come on, you
That's
let 'em
what
know
it
you're
is.
there.
Well, let's go to the hospital, babe.
Kenton's just killing people on sidewalks, looking at hot girls.
Come on, you've never done that? Oh shoot, I gotta crack the car. Come on.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to jump in a second. I need to thank you for having me on. I've got to disappear. It's getting a bit late here. I've got things I need to see to.
Thanks, Hans.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hans.
Thanks for
See you around,
joining us,
bud.
Take care,
brother.
Hans. Bye.
Take care, buddy.
Yep.
All right.
Later.
Great guy.
But it's the exact same thing with your thoughts. If you're just thinking negative, bad, this is awful, this is never going to end. How can we get out of this? You won't. You'll be stuck in it. But if you go in, open, positive, happy, this isn't the end of the world. We can fix this. We don't know how yet. We don't know what happened or what the solution is. But you just believe that in yourself that you can. Then you will. Right? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, for me, it
Yeah.
was great to talk to you two guys, and being lighthearted, and it just gives me. I had the ultimate confidence after that Chad's going to get through this. We're gonna, he'll help. That we'll be okay.
Mhm.
We'll figure this out. So
I think a lot of it too is preparing your mind for because all these risks, these attack vectors that we talk about, and when this podcast ends, whenever that is, they don't go away. They're still out there, and it's just thinking in your mind, modeling like how if this happens, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? I have done that so many times, and I'm not trying to say I'm like some like hardy individual or anything, but how I learned about the exploit is I woke up. I had no idea. I looked at X and I saw TCB's post like, hey, bad news, guys. Asgard Vault got exploited. That was me first learning, my first initial said, okay, it was just one Asgard Vault. It wasn't all the Asgard Vaults. I've thought about that so many times. What if an Asgard Vault gets stolen?
Mhm.
And that was my first reaction. I was like sort of thankful and that sounds twisted, but I was like, we still got a protocol. We're still here, right? Like
Mhm.
we're alive.
Mhm.
We can handle this. Like that's what that means. Because I've thought about that so many times, and that's just what you got to do. You gotta prepare your mind for terrible things to happen. And I think that's why this community is so tough. Is because they all do that as well.
Mhm.
All of them think of all the bad things that can happen, and they're still here. And they're still here because they can take it.
Right.
That's what it is.
yeah, the community's definitely been conditioned. Like I said, look back to the marketer cross when they're asking me, like they didn't really grill me, but they're like, "Are you sure the community's okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like from what I can tell, everyone's okay. Like we've, it's like that sign. Is it James Franco is being hung? Your first time. It's like this isn't the first time for THORChads to go through something difficult, and I think everyone's been good. I think because of you, Chad, being open and honest with what you know, when you know it, talking to the community, just trying to get the info out there. I think that's a huge part. So thank you for doing that. Yeah, thank you to the
That matters.
community.
That matters so much. Go
Yeah.
ahead, Kenton. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Good.
Yeah, I mean, you coming over here and giving some time just because people. That's what I know. Like, if if we don't hear it from the top, people like run around with their heads, their chicken cut off. Like they're like, "What's going on? Denny doesn't know, Kenton doesn't know," and maybe you're right. We don't know, and so I just think it's really like wholesome and cohesive to have developer, marketer, and just some community rando like me, some white guy coming on here. This helps. You know what I mean? Go
I
ahead,
forgot to
Kenton.
mention this at the beginning, but this conversation reminded me. Asaf from Soda Labs. He said he'll join the podcast next Thursday.
Nice.
So yeah, today's a Jewish holiday, I guess, so which he observes. So he couldn't do today, but he said next week he'd come. So stay tuned, guys. We can hear his like you said, Chad. So a lot of this is beyond your pay grade. So maybe we can hear from him, and he can give us a fresh explanation of what happened.
Is he a
so
cryptographer?
I don't know.
Oh, you're muted,
Chad.
Chad. You're muted, buddy.
I don't think so. Like partially yes, and I mean maybe he'll tell you better than I because I don't know his life story necessarily. But it's kind of this funny thing of like, and it's hard for people who are on the outside to understand this. But like there is a gradients of difference between like two different points, and so like having a architect and code is different than a designer, and a designer is different than a coder, is different than a QA person or quality assurance person, who's different than a security researcher. Security engineer is a different thing, and then a cryptographer is a different thing on top of that. So like all these things are like careers unto themselves, even though they're very adjacent to each other and they're very close to each other. Like it's an entire different skill set and knowledge and experience and field of study, right? Like even like computer science is not the same thing as computer engineering. They're very close to each other, but they're wildly different from each other. And computer science is more academic and research and theoretical and validation of like proving something to be correct or incorrect or whatever. And engineering is about building code that offers a product or service or whatever. And then like you have security researchers, engineers who are just looking at code from a security perspective. And then you have security researcher who is looking for potential theoretical exploits in a code base. And then you have cryptographers, which is like the GG of GG20, those two individuals, Rosario and Steven, like they're not engineers, they're cryptographers, they're mathematicians. You know what I mean? And so there's like a weird kind of gradient, and one person can have a little bit of study in this other areas or this area or whatever, but like you're not going to be able to study all of them in depth, right? It's just not possible for the human brain. AI will be able to do that, I'm sure, but not so much humans. And so like I have to be reliant on other people that have a different skill set than me. And Asif is a good example of that. He comes from a different background with a different field of study than I do. And so he contributes to the protocol from a different worldview and a different experience or knowledge than I'm capable of doing that. And then there's other people within the Soda Labs team that have a deeper cryptography than maybe he does, right? And he relies on them. Right. And so it builds this kind of stack of knowledge and skill sets that I think if you're not inside this world, you wouldn't even know that there's layers to the world that even exists.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I almost forgot to mention this. This is something that was discussed. It was just introduced yesterday. Oopsie, I pushed the wrong button. I'm going to bring it up here. This is an idea that was being floated here. Let me bring it up. This is from Shock Rocket, and he said, today's BPs and nodes, today BBs pay nodes a fee service that they provide since BPs are unable to do it themselves. All I'm saying is consider an additional fee that BPs pay, which would go towards a security cryptographer effort or bug bounty fund, since also BPs generally can't or won't do it. So to round this around, that's a kind of an open thing. I think, Chad, there is some room here where BPs, I'm personally supportive of this, of a BP specific tax. If you need to hire more talent, like another cryptographer or whatever, that might be something the community can get behind. I'm bringing it up now to fill the community out. This is a very obscure thread post on Discord, but I'm personally okay with it, and I'm someone who doesn't, typically like taxes or anything. I mean, no one likes that. But if it means that we can support more talent, more, whatever you need, the top tier cryptography, something. I just want to put that into your mind.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So THORChain's always been a protocol with a very small budget, right? We're not Near has $500 million of investment, which is almost 500 times more than we've ever did on this protocol. And the treasury is not, it has money, right? It's got millions in there, but it's not, half a billion or whatever. And so we have to be cautious about how we spend that money and to make sure it survives and lives for many, 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 many years to come to fund this protocol. It wasn't until recently we added the whole dev fund thing within the protocol, 5% of system income going to a dev fund, which is used to pay for developers and community members of some things and various whatevers. And right now that 5% is not anywhere close to where it needs to be to sustain the protocol. The treasury is still stepping in for the vast majority of the payments. But I would argue, at least this is my personal hope, is that 5%, while it's small right now, in the next bull market, is going to be significantly higher than where it is now. And hopefully, the dev fund can, sell a bunch of Rune or whatever asset it has into stable coins to help use the bull markets to fund the bear markets, right? And if we can build a much larger portfolio within the dev fund specifically, where we could hire, cryptographers direct, you know what I mean? Like a crypto expert that their only job is just to sit on the, TSS library or whatever cryptography library we're using at the time, just to sit on it and study it and know it well and pull in the upstream issue, changes, review, audit, blah, blah, blah. We can hopefully get to that place where we have that kind of money to do that. But I don't think we could do it now, because when we could, we have the money, but I don't want to burn through our treasury too fast. I want to make sure we're, conservative so we can last the long haul, so to speak.
Well, then if there is something that maybe BPs can do, maybe a tax or something like that, a fee structure or a tithe, maybe make it religious sound great,
To me, it would just be increasing the dev fund, right? If you want to do that, to me, it's just go from 5% to 10% or whatever.
I think the idea is to just not to impact nodes if we can, because they have a lot of overhead as it is. I don't know. Maybe that's really complicated code, BPs only. I don't know. You guys help me.
I have a roundabout way.
Okay.
Of this, the BP. So maybe it's a good time to talk about POL and percentage going there, right? So in ADR 28, it's 5% is the proposal. And my understanding is we just kind of want to get ADR 28. We can agree on the big things, get it through, and then we can tweak things after that, including the POL. So I believe pretty strongly we should go to at least 25%. And so that would be a 1/3 haircut to nodes in yield at the current split, right? So, and I know I'm assuming Alex is kind of against going that high because some node operators just can't. They're already starving, right? They can't take any more cut. So how I was going to pitch this to the community is that node operators shouldn't take the cut. They should increase their operator fee. There's no reason your operator fee has to be fixed at 10, 15%, whatever. Increase it by 1/3 or 50%. And your bond providers should be smart enough to understand that operating a node has fixed costs, right? And so the rent price is down, revenue's down. Node operators have to eat, you guys. They got to cover their costs and be fed, right? And so this tax you're talking about, Denny, the node operators can do it by increasing their fee, and so then they're covering their back end, their basis. They're okay.
Yeah, maybe that's the way.
And we jack up the liquidity in the network because that's how it makes us grow, right? We need more money in these pools to get more volume, to get more trading activity, right? To win more quotes, to reach more communities, all kind of stuff. Then we start growing the pie. The dev fund is getting more money. Chad has more money to play with to go hire these people, right?
Yes.
If all the money is just going to the nodes and everyone's just holding on and hodling Rune, then the network's stagnant. How does it? We need to grow. We need to invest in it somehow, right? So the POL going into liquidity helps get that going. So that's your tax. BPs, be okay with your bump. Some nodes, it might have to go to 30% operator fee, and you shouldn't be mad about their bother. You should understand completely. And if you're going to leave a node operator because you have to do that, like, you don't come talking to me, because if you're just shopping around for like a lowest fee node op, that's not me. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to play that game. And I hope the node operators have a good enough relationship with their BPs that they can do that and just be like, hey guys, you got to understand that we need some minimums here. So I would talk to the bond provider community to understand that.
Okay.
Because
Kenton, can I
if
interrupt you for just a hot second? I'm super sorry.
okay, yeah.
I do believe Chad has to get going.
Oh,
So,
sorry. Yeah.
no,
Okay.
you're good, brother. We're going to continue the conversation. Chad, I just want to thank you again for your time. And hey, get some rest if you need it. Okay. Like,
Appreciate it, guys.
all right, man.
All right. Thanks, Chad.
Bye, guys. I'm just
Thank
gonna
you, brother.
just gonna get some work done if you don't mind.
No, I
Yeah,
understand.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Goodbye, buddy.
Bye.
Please, Kenton, continue with the idea, because I think there is something here, about talking to your BPs about increasing.
Yes, I was on a rant and I lost my train of thought.
Well, you were saying you're not the guy who's the lowest guy, and BPs come looking for the cheapest node, right?
Yeah. So yeah, so especially if BPs are okay, if you think in general okay with some kind of tax, um, well then accept the higher not. And I'm not just saying this because I'm going to increase my fees. That's not. I think I'm okay. I think we're okay. We're fine. We can stomach this. But I'm running multiple nodes, so we get some economies of scale, right? I totally get it. If you're like a single node operator, you don't have an economy of scale, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say accept that as your tax, guys. This is my thought, that the node operators. So if they're worried about security, we don't want node operators leaving, right? We don't want nodes dropping off. So, if we do go to a higher POL percentage and the yield to nodes goes down, and then we sell these nodes leaving, that reduces our security way quicker than hiring a cryptographer, right? It could take, you follow me? So, I think the BP should be worried about our current situation and being able to maintain it, because that's my feeling from some node operators. Like, it's like, like they're not making much money, guys. Like, no one's getting rich off this type thing. Like, a lot of people are here because I believe a lot of node operators still going, just a labor of love. And so I would say to BPs, accept that tax, that the node operators increase their fee a bit. And it's fluid, right? Room price goes back up, yields go back up. The node operator can always lower it back down, right? It doesn't have to be, fixed, right? So, but I feel pretty strongly that we got to get this yield going. We got to get these pools growing again. Start getting fees, getting volume.
Well, maybe that's a good transition to talk about the difference between the burn and the POL, right? So, right now there's a 5% burn. There is no POL add mechanism. Gosh, I wish Chad was here. The POL add mechanism it's been tested, but it's not at any way had any effect on mainnet yet. So I'm assuming, let's just say we go with the current proposal, 7.5% goes to POL, 2.5% burn. I think these are just numbers that we're throwing out there just to get consensus. Go ahead, Kenton.
Can I interrupt you? The current proposal is 5% POL. Leave the burn alone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I apologize.
Yeah, Alex mentioned that in the chat, but I don't believe the ADR has been changed to that. I think the ADR is leave the burn alone, 5% POL.
Okay. I thank you for that correction. Hey guys, I'm even struggling to keep up because it's such a frenetic and fluid situation. So, okay. So I think the priority is to get the protocol back online. I think that's let's get the girl swapping. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the gist with ADR 28 is that do we all agree on the protocol on liquidity taking the loss? Do we agree with some percentage going to of fees going to POL? And then I forget what was the third thing. Koitsu, you're in here. What's it has been amended. Koitsu. We have Koitsu in the chat, people. He's
Koitsu's an OG. He knows his stuff.
Koitsu's a moderator and in the Discord, and so if you can, maybe you can correct us, maybe or correct me, maybe I'm wrong. And what's
If
the
you want to
third?
join the show, go ahead.
I thought, yeah, Koitsu, you're
Oh,
welcome to come up and
yeah.
speak if you want.
Let me bring it up.
Um,
I'm bringing it up right now. Let me go to the.
Thornode mainnet.
Yeah, I'm bringing up here. Which one is it? The Bifrost Daemon mainnet band node ADR right here. Okay.
The GitLab entry has been it's still 7 point. Oh well, the first one I saw was 5%, so
Oh,
it was changed to 7.5.
okay.
Um,
Okay. we're getting educated here live on the show here. Yeah. It's hard to keep up. So
were you pulling up your Discord?
I'm sorry. I got distracted. I'm trying to find it.
I'll do it. Let me
Yeah,
find
please
it.
do. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, give me a second here. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. And I'm going to check right now on Telegram, guys. If you have any questions at all for me or Kenton, I know we're not Chad, but we'll do our best. Thank you again, Hans, for joining, and Chad. That was great. Always love hearing from them. I think it's a great unifier when we get both, like, the core devs on the show together. It's always good.
Can you see it? I wonder.
Let me go back. Sorry, I'm in Discord. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Can I zoom in? Zoom in a bit so you guys can read. Okay, so here's the
Yeah, no,
ADR. Okay, so no instance slashing. That was the other one. So no
right.
node bonds BPs are going to be slashed. Um, and yeah, we want to re-enable the swaps as soon as possible. But in order to do that, we have to figure out the accounting on this loss, right? Where's that hole going to be filled? And that's what Hans was working on and going over with us earlier. Sounds like we've got a $700,000 hole that needs to be figured out. And that other 8 million is going to be the protocol. It's going to take the heat. So it's not like we're selling 8 million of Rune. The protocol has 8 million of exogenous assets that we can apply to this. So if it sounds like the worst case scenario is that 700 grand. Maybe we have 700 grand worth of Rune selling. That's why I understood. Is that what you understood it too, Denny?
That's, yeah. Yes.
Okay. Which I bought and sold that within the same day before, and no one's ever noticed. So that has zero concern. I have zero concern about that. So yeah, so node operators, BPs, go vote on ADR 28. Again, you don't have, if you disagree, it's fine. Vote 0 and then tell us why, right? Just as long as people vote.
Yeah, we need speed on responses here, guys. Just
Yeah.
let us know what's going on. Please do not delay. Talk with your node operators, your BPs, your nodes. Talk with your BPs. Like, let's figure it out. This is the big test of decentralization. How efficient can we be in times that are really pressing and matter? And the protocol is not swapping right now. We are not making any revenue, and that is the lifeblood of THORChain. So this is a time to, we don't want to go hasty and do, be unsafe, and we're not doing that here. But I think just getting the protocol started is the base. It's the basis, and then we can go and have the discussion. Like, I'm on Kenton's side. I really want a high POL percentage. I've been wanting that forever. I just love the idea of exogenous assets going straight into the pools, and that's constantly being arbitraged, which means more swap volume, more fees, more POL. Like, it compounds. With our current burn, I know a lot of people like the current burn, and no shade whatsoever, but it's kind of a one and done event, right? With this POL, it is there, assuming we don't get exploited, it's there forever. So I love it.
Yeah.
I love
and
it.
I like the burn too. I really do. But like, it's the money can be better used elsewhere right now, right? The burn is probably the last thing that we want to be spending it on. It would have much more value to us as POL, protocol owned liquidity. So like, I know someone was in Discord there talking about increasing the burn to 60%. And one thing I love about this community, everyone's got like, I love everyone's ideas. I may disagree with them a bunch of times, but I love the the creativity and the imagination, and it's how we're all better. Um, to be honest, I am not for that. I am against it, but I am for it down the road. Like when we're doing really well, rune price is up, yield is up. We got like 200 nodes maybe, and then like the pools are doing they're nice and big. But they're not. The pools aren't really getting. The fees to depth ratio is quite low, so it doesn't really make sense to add any more the revenue to the pools. Maybe we have more than enough nodes, and they're getting more than enough yield. Then what do we do? And the dev fund is big enough. The marketing fund, we get lots of money. Then we can burn it, right? Maybe then we start burning rune, right? Because then it's worth it type thing. So yeah, I know I was a proponent of the burn when it first came out. I liked it, but I am acknowledging now probably isn't the right time for it. Um, my main reason for keeping the burn is so I don't have to go change the website and all these platforms all over again.
So minimum 1% burn for
1% would be
Kenton's
nice,
mental
guys.
health.
Yeah,
1%
yeah.
minimum.
Coke's tongues is stupid.
Yeah.
Coke's our producer, guys. You can't hear him. We can hear him. But honestly, seriously, whatever the community decides is okay. But yeah, I think honestly, it is the capital would be better spent on going to the pools versus burned right now. Um, um, yeah, nothing because
Quite.
sorry.
Oh, Koitsu had a good question, or a good point. Like with rapid swaps, do we really need huge pools? And my answer would be no. But if we have more POL, it just means more volume, which means more fees. Like that's what I'm thinking. That's my. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm jumping. I'm interrupting you, Denny. But Koitsu, so the way I see it, the market will tell us if as the pools get big enough, the fees to depth ratio will go down. Right. So if we might find we reach the max size for the pools pretty quick, that they are super efficient, and maybe we only need 100 million TVL. We don't need that much more. We'll find out, right? So you're right. The more efficient we make the trading, the smaller the pools have to be to handle more volume. But maybe we get remember the liquidity black hole. The bigger the liquidity, the more the trades, right? So maybe it just keeps growing, right? We'll just find out, and that's why I think we just keep an eye on the fees per depth. That's going to tell us. And so, and that's how we're supposed to be allocating the POL, right? It's going to go to the pools with the highest fees per depth. So it's going to the pool that needs it most, that is the most profitable for the network. So I think it'll become pretty obvious one day. It's going to be the same argument people are having now about the burn. It's just not moving the needle on the room price. People are going to have the same argument about POL. It's just not moving the needle on the fees. And, why do we keep putting money into it? We should stop. And maybe we send that money to the nodes. And maybe the nodes need more yield because we want to get more nodes, right? So, but yeah, the another reason I want a more aggressive POL percentage, but a couple of reasons. One of them is the sooner we pay back this $8-10 million hole, the better, because it is. When we say the protocol is absorbing the loss, really it's all rune holders, right? The protocol, the network is now worth $8 million less, right? So the sooner we can buy back that liquidity, put it back into the protocol, then we get back to even. The other reason is LPs, as soon as they break even, are going to pull out, right? All the legacy LPs that are down from synth leverage. If you're new to THORChain, this is probably this topic you don't need to know about. But I think all those legacy LPs, like they're gonna yank out as soon as they can. I hope they do. I hope you guys do. And that's going to be huge exodus of liquidity. right? And we need something to absorb that, to replace it, to be there. And so if we've got all this POL and we're continuing to add, hopefully that will offset any withdrawals from LPs. And because otherwise we need some incentive, something to encourage people to LP, right? And the yields just haven't been. It's it's kind of broken, the whole incentive model to get liquidity. So I think it's much better the protocol owns it, because then if we're just worrying about incentives of outsiders putting in their liquidity, well, they can yank at any time. If the protocol owns it, it'll never withdraw. It is there forever. So it's much more sticky, and that reduces the reflexivity on the room price, because we don't have to worry about anyone withdrawing. So the bigger the POL gets, it should make the room price more stable as well, because we're not worried about liquidity coming in and out. So every time I think about it, like, I really like going that direction and just basically
It simplifies it.
Yeah,
Simplifies in your
totally.
model, right? Like, trying to explain this to
Totally.
somebody, like, beforehand
Yeah.
with Simps and THORFi and all this stuff,
Yeah.
like, explain how all this interrelates and DLPs and
Yeah.
single side and
Yeah.
rune pool and all this stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
what? Like, I couldn't, like, I would explain it, but they're like, well, how these interrelate? Well, I think it's
Yeah.
gonna do this, but I have
Yeah.
no idea. It's too complicated. With
Yeah.
POL, we have a fraction of revenue going to POL. The pools get deeper, more arbitrage volume, more fees for the protocol, more fees for nodes. And that's where I'm really excited. There comes a point where the depth of the pools themselves, the arbitrage volume, is so good that it just, like, even if we didn't have a lot of swap volume, which I don't think we will, I think we will have a lot of swap volume, but just hypothetically, I think that's more than enough to keep these nodes afloat. So I think the sooner we aggressively pursue the POL ads, we get to that point where it's almost like, I mean, we've been self-sustaining in some hard points just on arbitrage volume alone, it feels like, right? Against the
Yeah.
macro environment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Volume is volume. We don't care who's doing the trade
yeah.
and why you're doing it, right? We'll just do the trade, right? So, but you're right. Like, a lot of the volume is arbitrage, and so that's why I want to get these other pools going, like these 30 to 50 other pools that, like, other ERC20s, Solana tokens. What else are there? Like, love to see the XRP stablecoin. The Ruggiero guys, they're hot on the Tether Gold. P, is it PAXU? No, PXAU. Is that what it is? I can't remember. Sorry.
I think
Um,
so. Acronyms.
and there's some tokens that, like, people are, oh, these are stupid or whatever, but they're like top 100 in the volume and top 100 market cap, and just arbitrage volume alone will get us some yield, right? Um, and I was thinking of something else there too. Um, Shoot, we were talking about. Oh, and so, yeah, that's the thing. If the network right now, because we don't have a hard cap now, it's screwed up the incentive pendulum. So the incentive pendulum decides how much yield goes to nodes versus pools, and it's been slammed towards nodes for months now, and the pools aren't getting anything. And, like, this isn't natural. This isn't the way the the network should operate, right? When the network is in balance, we should have half the yield going to the nodes and half going to the pools. If we do half going to the nodes right now, like, think of this like a reset, what we're doing right now. This is kind of like a hard reset for us. So we got half the yield going to the nodes, 10% TCY, 5% burn, 5% dev fund, 5% marketing fund. That leaves 25% for POL to go to POL. So it balances out really nicely. You guys want to get rid of the burn? Great. We go to 30% going to POL. Node operators, again, if you guys don't like hearing that you could affect, if we do 25% going to POL, that'd be 1/3 less yield going to nodes. Increase your operator fee by 1/3. If you're charging 15%, start charging 20%. If you're a bond provider and that, you can't handle that, you guys have to be more accommodating. You got to be more understanding.
What if we just, this is weird. I don't know how I feel about this, but what if we just said, just every node operator, go ahead and increase your fee by 5%. That would help everybody. That would help all nodes.
Yeah.
That feels kind of weird, but I don't see why that doesn't work. And there's the tax. And then
Yeah.
that way no one moves because everything went up ubiquitously.
Yeah.
And the same proportion.
Because the thing is too, guys, like BPs have to appreciate nodes, like, you know, the nodes that are friends of the network, like, we take time out of our days to spend on this stuff, to read, stay up to speed, what's going on. Sometimes there's nights or weekends or whatever, right? So like, you know, so yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. If you get a node operator you like and they do a good job, they're worth it. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
agree, Koitsu. It can't be enforced. He said, I don't think that can be forced in the
yeah,
protocol.
no,
This would just have to be a community. It either happens or it doesn't. I
yeah.
don't even
So
know if
it's
it would.
social pressure, like,
Social pressure.
yeah, exactly. So, but maybe there's some people out there like, no, they're real misers, and I want my percentage, whatever. We might lose some BPs, we might lose a node or two, fine. But like, yeah, um,
I want the
I'd
network
be,
to be more decentralized. Like that makes me
yeah,
feel good, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
I don't, and so if there's a single node operator who's struggling, like it is incumbent upon us to help them in any way we can. I mean, this is weird. It's like the decentralization is an investment in the part of the BP by paying more of a fee, right? And until we get to a point where it is profitable to live on arbitrage volume alone, it, like, as a community, we kind of, I'm, not everyone thinks this way, but I'm interested in, like, it's a small amount of altruism, if you call that, or like sacrificing my yield till we get to that point. And that's why I'm
yeah,
so excited to get this POL thing. Just punch
yeah,
the POL and get some
yeah,
liquidity in these pools.
yeah,
It works. Immediately starts compounding immediately. You have
yeah,
$10,000 that gets deposited in the pool. That's $10,000, 5,000 split, obviously, whatever pool it goes into. That's immediately volume that's being arbitraged. And then that's
yeah,
a little bit for the next time. And then it compounds every day. That's so
yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, because that 25% sitting in Rune on your bond isn't generating any
Right.
fees. It's just taking more fees out. So like, so you're right. It should compound. I'm to be honest, I haven't really not hashed it out like that. Just the arbitrage volume alone
Yes. It's so
is gonna
powerful, right?
it will create the compounding. You're right.
That's
You're
what
absolutely
I'm
right.
saying. Like, that's why I
Yeah,
want to hit it. I want to hit it
yeah,
so hard because we immediately see a return. Like with the
yeah,
burn, relative to the burn, it's burned. There's nothing that
yeah,
happens. This is liquidity that goes
yeah,
into the pools
yeah,
and immediately starts getting to work.
yeah,
It's like a dividend that you get every day. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Because the bonds just keep growing on the nodes. That's just sucking money out of the network.
It's diluting
The
rewards,
the
right?
the fees on the pools, that's fresh money coming into the network. So, geez, man, that's actually, I wonder if we could do so. I wonder if somebody be able to model that. One of you guys out there, you play with
Boone.
Claude and like,
Well, Boone's
I
working on
want,
XMR. Maybe someone else.
pardon?
I was saying Boone do it, but he's working on an XMR client right now.
No, this would be a
Someone
good
else.
boon job. He should be able to figure it out. I think it should be pretty basic, but like basically, I want to say at least half our volume is our volume. And um, so last time I looked at the pools, I think typical fees per depth were like anywhere from like 10 to 15 basis points. If you average it out. So if you just maybe just be base, just assume 10 basis points. I forget how I did that math. Um, but anyway, you can kind of, if you can assume the yield on a pool and then start adding in, 25% of that yield and just see how it compounds, how quickly. I'd be interested to see how that math works.
Boone just said,
Um,
Boone says 62% our volume. That's what he says. So
yeah,
I mean, come on. You start putting these exogenous assets. I mean, we have a 10 million hole, right? That sucks. That really
yeah,
sucks. And we're going to have less R volume because of that hole. So we really just need to jump on that, really. And with XMR coming, all these new, we could have a lot more that liquidity, those fees that's going into the pools, you guys. Like that's what we need to do, right? And then
Yeah.
if Rune price goes up, then that helps as well. It just sucks in more exogenous assets,
Yeah.
right? We're putting a bunch of Rune into the pools right now. Rune price goes up, that's more exogenous assets coming in, more depth. Like,
Yeah.
I think he just
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah. I like it. I keep trying to think like what's it why I mean the drawback would be, we're discouraging individuals from contributing to the pool, right? Um but I don't know. I'm not too worried about crowding them out because like it really simplifies THORChain's design. Heaven forbid there is another exploit. At least again, it's protocol money that's taken, right? It's not any
Right.
individual. I think that's the bigger news. I think when an individual loses, then it's like, you know, but if the corporation or the entity or whatever they absorb the loss, then no one's bothered by it. So that in itself, having POL helps protect us in a way that that I know it's not perfect insurance. I get it, guys, but it's better than individual users losing. Yeah, just I don't know. Every time I think about it, I just like it more. And um,
Things that
yeah,
are conceptually similar, the model, they're typically correct. I mean, that's my
yeah,
understanding with first principles. If
yeah, totally. Yeah,
if you're going down like this rabbit hole of all these what ifs and thens and all these different variables, then it's just like it's convoluted. If you can't model it in your brain, that's typically a red flag. Doesn't mean
yeah,
that's
yeah,
real. It could be legit.
yeah,
There are some technical aspects in various forms of competence that are technical and rightly so. But this is one of those economic principles where it's just like, dude, that just works. Like, why does that not work? It's so easy to
yeah.
understand. Like, and so I say send it. Send the POL 30%, 40%. I was kidding. But I'm down to go really high. I really am.
So, Koisu, people need to remember it doesn't have to remain at 60% forever. You're referring to the art volume.
I think
You're
so.
right, but look at the last 5 years. It's been 60% or even more. I think it's even peaked at 80%. 60% is just the average. Um, so um, yeah, I think that's a long enough time for a trend to be established. Um, but something I've been thinking about is maybe that is a sign that having more art volume than L1 volume, maybe that's a symptom that, we're so small. Like we need to get more L1 volume.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what I can do. So now I'm going to start focusing more on outreach and actual growth. See if we can get some more volume
And we're
on
doing
how
that,
that's
right?
going
I
to.
mean, this Saturday, we're going to be talking to the Kwai Network, meeting them in real life. That was really cool. And I'm really excited for June 20th. I don't want to say their name right now because it's a little farther away, but that was a really cool team we met. And so it's happening, guys. Like we're meeting teams, we're getting people together.
Wait, why
And
can't you say their name?
okay, fine. Nano GB, was it Nano? I always get this messed up. Nano GBT, not PT.
Yeah.
Nano GBT. Real a AI aggregator team. I love those guys. They are so
Yeah.
cool. They're awesome.
Yeah. Well, the everyone I've talked to is so positive. People still want to
Yeah.
integrate with THORChain. Like I had the podcast with Firo last Saturday. He's like, I'm not phased. I want to get in THORChain as soon as I can. Um, Xano guys are still interested. Um, I'm sure maybe Quine Network, maybe they're interested in integrating. And here's some. I have to give a shout out to Star Squid. He's been great. I just kind of like dump all these protocols on his lap. Like, hey, can you help these guys integrate? And he's been really patient and good about it. But I think we're on the same page. That I think the like how we want people off sexes, right? Stop trading on Coinbase. Stop using Binance. Come use THORChain, right? I want tokens to stop listing on Binance, and I want them to come to THORChain. List on THORChain. Why are you going to these centralized exchanges? You
Yeah.
could come,
We'll
you
do it
should be
for
coming to
free.
us. And the culture in the past about adding new chains really bothered me. I feel like we're on turn a new leaf here, and I feel pretty good. Star Squid's on. He sees it the same way that I do. I don't speak for you, Matt, if I'm interpreting it wrong, but we guys had chat about it. I'm pretty sure we agree. But every new chain that we add is a new community, is a new network. And that chain itself, it might be small in no volume. We get it. Fine, right? But that isn't all the money that community has. That community also has Bitcoin and Ethereum and meme coins and whatever, right? And so if they come over, they bring all that other volume with them. So even though they might just trade their little, modest sized market cap token, it doesn't mean they aren't trading, that might only be 5% of their portfolio. And they bring over the other 95% with them, right? And and I think one of the things against adding new chains is like, what if there's an exploit or something, right? We're all sensitive to hacks now, right? I think that's just we have to accept that risk because um, yeah, we just have to accept it. If you look at Ethereum, all these hacks occur and all these implosions occur with all these tokens on Ethereum. But Ethereum is still world's second largest crypto, right? So people can separate an exploit on this ERC20 versus the Ethereum base layer, right? We have, THORChain base layer, and we have a problem with one of the pools. I like to think that people can isolate that. Okay, this is an issue with a specific pool with that protocol. It doesn't affect the entire THORChain protocol or the pool, right? And especially if the dollar amount is small, right? So if a new protocol comes on, they only have 25, 50 grand, maybe 100 grand liquidity, and something, there's an exploit there, like, it might not even get picked up in the news cycle because it's just too small of a headline, right? So I feel pretty strongly we have to take those chances, and that's how we grow. And and then so I was thinking about this too, like with POL, because we flip the script. When you're a token and you want to launch an exchange, you have to give Binance money,
Right.
give a market maker money, and then they go dump it on you. And this is a legitimate game, right? That they all play, and all these token prices just tank, and everyone's mad and upset, and they don't want to do it. Okay, you come to THORChain, you still have to put up your own money to start liquidity, but you own it, you control it. You can always withdraw from the liquidity pool if you want. You still get no fees, right? It's just a permanent loss. But if your pool is doing really well, we are going to add liquidity to it with our POL. And so you might start with a 50 grand pool. Well, maybe the protocol ends up owning 500 grand to the pool because it's a really high earner and we want to, right? So now we're adding value to this protocol. And it should make it very attractive and interesting for these protocols to come list on THORChain. And we're getting the network effects. So like it's way easier to integrate. Like it's way more cost effective for us to integrate one new protocol and get 5,000 people from their community than me to go spend money on marketing to go get 5,000 new users individually. You follow me?
Oh,
So these protocols are one protocol brings a few thousand people in, and we get our network grows that much faster and quicker. So it really flips the script on why would you list on a SEX versus listing on THORChain. So yeah, so it's been great to these projects. The hack hasn't phased them. Any of the previous news doesn't phase them. If anything, they're more on our side. So yeah. So I think Star Squid sees it the same way as I do. I hope the community does. I hope we can convince the nodes and Chad and the other devs that adding some of these smaller chains. I think if you look at the big picture, I think can add value for THORChain and really be good for us.
Yeah, I love it. And shout out to you, said Star Squid. Shout out to Randy. Shout out to everyone who just works in the background every day, just trying to make THORChain more appealing to everyone and get integrations. That's a good point, Kenton. I mean, we're not gonna charge you. You have to provide liquidity, and you're on. you
Yeah.
on. And maybe some, helps if you have some developers, and help make the chain client. That goes a
Yeah,
long way.
so that's what I've been telling these guys, like, "Listen, you have to do the work, right? Like, we'll, maybe hold your hands and we'll review stuff, but you gotta do the work to get your token on THORChain." You gotta have they gotta help, keep us up to date, changes on their protocol or whatever. And, then the real cost, I think, is THORChain nodes running those daemons, right? That's the cost. And, so I totally get it. We don't wanna blow out the node operators' op costs with supporting all these daemons, right? So, yeah, it just sucks right now because everything is so down, but, I feel like, once we get to, like, kind of a nice good, like, we're treading water comfortably, I might be able to make the case that for whatever extra cost it is to run a chain daemon, I can add that up on a per node basis relative to the size of that community, and I can we can justify it. Okay, nodes, this is what you guys are paying to access that community, and is it worth it or not? Right. So again, you're paying Kenton, well, not me, but you're 5% of the revenue is going to the marketing fund for me to go spend to go get people. Maybe it costs me, make this number up. Maybe I spend 100 grand to get 5,000 new users. But maybe running a new chain daemon between all the nodes costs 10 grand to get 5,000 new users. So it makes more sense, right? That's cheaper to do, right? So does that make sense? You follow me? Or is that the
Makes perfect sense to me,
okay?
man. A
All
hundred
right.
percent. Yeah, I'm with you.
Um, so yeah, I think I'm just kind of rambling, man.
No, I think it's good. I mean, listen, this is, we want to make sure we're available and that anyone has any questions. I think Chad and Hans did a pretty good job explaining the situation. I'm hoping people understand. There's a lot of things we still got to figure out, you guys. But I think the overall story here is that THORChain is intact and the community is strong and we're doing fine and we're going to get through this and we're going to get our girl fired up again. We're going to get swaps going. And I think we have a clear vision forward of what we're going to do. And, whether it's, nodes, everyone raises their fee by 5%, community initiative, like, hey guys, just take some more money. We're going through, it's a rough patch right now with maybe sophisticated AI models attacking all these different protocols, exploiting not just THORChain, but a lot. I mean, someone was just exploited literally like an hour before this this podcast started. It's like, this is the new thing. Right. And so it's going to be a rough patch, but because our first principles are solid, we're going to muddle through and we're going to get through this. And I, my vision of THORChain is still very much intact. And yeah, nothing's changed as far as I'm concerned. It's just, if anything, we're even stronger than we are. I mean, we've got an attack vector that's been handled and we're going to expedite some changes and, it is what it is. We move forward.
And
So
if there's any like making lemonade out of lemons type thing, it's better to fail when you're young,
yeah,
right? And like, things are small right now. Network is small. Um, had this not been discovered now, but maybe a couple of years from now, could be a lot worse. So, maybe it's good we experiencing this now rather than later. Um, it is happening at the same time as like dozens of other exploits. And people are asking me if they think this has something to do with us going live with Monero soon, and we're being attacked for that. And I'm like, I don't believe that. I think it's more like my conspiracy brain thinks Mythos was leaked. Like,
yeah, I kind of,
we're having this like there's been like 40 or 50 hacks in the last like 5 weeks or something. Like this hasn't happened in crypto before to have this many exploits one after another. Like you'd go months without hearing about one. And it's in these last since April, it's just like bam, 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 bam. Like they're all going off. So something has changed. And the best I can come up with is AI. Um, so yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and like I said, it could always be worse. There's always silver linings here to these situations, these hard moments, and you know, thankfully we can get stronger from this. And I think cryptography is, I think the really the big thing here is, get away to a simpler design cryptography. I mean, like we say, I'm not a cryptographer, obviously. I'm not even a developer, obviously. But if cryptographers say, hey, DKLS or Frost or whatever it is, if that's better, much less attack surface, and okay, that's what we got to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is CBS. Well, with that being said, by the way, Koitsu, I saw those 2 tokens. Maybe you want to send those to DM. Like, I don't know if we were in contact with those chains. If you like those chains, I like those chains. That's how much I respect your opinion. But guys, real quick, if anyone has any other questions, please fire away. But I pretty think we covered all topics. Definitely check out the recording when we're done with the podcast to get up to date. At the 17-minute mark, that's when Chad Bareford starts speaking, if you guys want to hear the latest. But there was also very important things before that with Kenton giving an update on the website as well. So I recommend watching the whole thing if you can. Do you got anything else, Kenton? I think we pretty much covered all the ground.
Let me see a quick update on STO. So
Okay, yeah,
swap.thorchain.org.
perfect.
So I think we're going to do the multi-language. So get it translated into several different languages. And I've been told I think we can do it actually relatively quickly. We're just waiting to get like a lot more of the site done, kind of more ossified before translating. So we don't have to keep going back and forth. Every time we change the site, we got to translate it again, right? So apparently AI is pretty good right now for translating. So we'll do it with AI first, and then give it to a bilingual human to review. Um, it'll be a good indication how good the AI is, because people are already doing that, right? I've done that when I'm on a foreign website. I use the browser to do the AI translate, right? So if we just do it internally, hard code it, it's just much smoother and nicer for the user. And apparently should be pretty easy. So quite so I don't know, do you speak Mandarin or Cantonese? Because actually I was gonna get Monero Old Bull to help me with the
Jane's bilingual as well. She's really good at it too.
is she? Okay.
Mm-hmm,
So in the Lemur Labs guys, they know they have in touch with some other languages too. So anybody out there, if you're bilingual, you want to help, you mind helping review, I'll pay you.
French Chad. We need French.
French, yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking to start, we do Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Russian, Spanish, and Persian. And then see how those go. And then I was thinking like German, French, I don't know what else. You guys tell me.
Yeah,
You're in the group chats, Denny. If there's any
I think
foreigners,
I think that's it. Maybe German. Did you say German? I'm sorry, I was reading things like that.
that was a secondary one.
Russian.
Yeah, so we'll start with Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, Russian, Spanish, and Persian. And then after that, I was thinking French, German, Japanese. I don't know what else, but I'll let our community tell us. If there's
we have a very big Russian community.
Yeah.
And
Brazilians. We do Portuguese then, right?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was trying to get the big 5 kind of out of the way. Slash, like I know Korean isn't huge, but they are big crypto users. So that's why I had them on my list.
Well, yeah, I think we should be prepared, right? I mean, if our vision is quite important, so we shouldn't shy away. Let's go for it.
I'm thinking big guys. And I was wondering about Hindi. I don't know, how many Indians actually are into crypto.
Well, it's one of the biggest languages ever, so
exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, to be frank, I'd love to have all like 100 or 150, whatever. We'll get all the Papua New Guinea languages in there, all 3,000. We know we made it when we have some village in Papua New Guinea using THORChain.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But anyway, so hopefully that we can get that done soon. Working on Kepler wallet, you guys, adding a support for all the different Ethereum and different blockchains on Kepler. And then I think I'm gonna focus on the widget, and so that a website can have a widget to trade. Oh, Italian. Okay, put that down. Um, a widget for people to put in their website to have a swap interface, THORChain swap interface in their website with a few lines of code. And if we do it, we'll probably just start with memoless because that'll be the easiest. And so I think after the languages, I think I might focus on that. So I was talking to a pretty big platform who is open to having our widget interface on their website. So that's what kind of kicked me in the butt to maybe get that done. And so it's fluid, guys. I still know there's more features and things everybody wants on STO. My priority list shifts based on when I think it can have the most impact for us on getting users and or fixing bugs. So yeah, maybe I think that's it. I think I'm good. I'm
Love it.
done.
How
Yeah.
you guys feeling out there? I know there's a delay, but thumbs up in the chat if you guys are feeling okay. You know what I mean? Or just whatever you want to say. All right, guys. I think we're gonna be all right. I know it's been a stressful week. Feels like a lifetime ago when this happened, but it has not been that long at all. It happened like Friday, so it's been
6
less than
days
a
ago.
week. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been less than a week, and I feel like I'm an old man. When I did the recap, Kenton. With Coke, and I had to think about what we said the day prior on Thursday. I was like, what did we talk about? Because my mind was just so consumed with the most recent information, right? So it feels like, but we're rebounding very quickly. If it's under a week and we're at this stage where I talk about pushing an update either today or tomorrow, that's damn good. So good work, everybody. Super
Yeah.
exciting. Well done. What do you say, man? You think we should wrap it here?
Yeah, let's wrap it.
All right, brother. Let's wrap it. Thank you guys all so much for everything you have done. Appreciate it. All right, guys. If you'd like to become a node operator and need some help, please reach out to @RuneTard on X. He can help you get set up and find bond providers. Very important, guys. Also, for THORChain data and insights, follow @RayAnalytics on X. He does really great written recaps for these podcasts. I love that guy. And always remember, guys, the views expressed are solely of the hosts and guests. Any action taken based on this information is at your own risk. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and the THORChain community does not endorse or condone illicit activity of any kind whatsoever. This Saturday, guys, we're going to be talking to the Quai Network. I don't know who's talking. I remember if it's Jonathan or who it is or Dr. K, but really awesome team. I cannot wait to break down their stable coin. And then we're going to have Deving Zone next Saturday, Severin. Voice only, no camera. Maybe we'll give him a little thing he can put up. So look forward to that, guys. And otherwise, if any updates come, maybe we'll do a special podcast. I know we've done a couple, and thank you for doing that, Kenton. I'm really bummed I couldn't make that last one, but thank you for being able to jump on with Chad. If anything happens, you guys, maybe that'll happen. We'll figure it out. It's a very fluid situation, but otherwise, we keep trucking. The same schedule keeps going, guys. Nothing's changed, so we're gonna keep on. But that being said, we'll wrap it up here, guys. Hope everyone has a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye now.